Now, say my name.
Heisenberg.
You're goddamn right.
Welcome, come one, come all, to the live Q&A. Haven't done one of these in a while. I actually enjoy these quite a bit, probably more than I should. Nobody ever wants to watch Q&A, they just want to participate in the Q&A. But hey, I aim to please. Get your questions in. It doesn't have to be a super, it just has to be good. I prefer super, but now's the time to ask them. Smoke them if you got them. Hey. These are always fun. Don't you think? These are always fun. I get a lot of good clips out of my Q&As. Thank you. You guys like that intro? I thought that intro was pretty damn good. There we go. Faded out even like that. All right. We are going to do a Q&A, which I have not done. God, I can't even remember the last time I did a Q&A. But now I got everything switched over. You know, I tell you, I hesitate to do Q&As sometimes because nobody goes searching for Q&A. No one goes searching for ask me any AMA, right? And nobody goes searching for ask me anythings. They just are looking for info bites, and nothing will teach you that lesson better than doing short films. Yeah, they are short films, short clips, and then broadcasting them, whether it's on Instagram or it's on YouTube. YouTube is still, I think, hashtag shorts is still in its infancy right now. But the good thing is I get to sort of let down my hair. I should have just put my hair down in this one, right? But this is the show where you guys get to call the topic, so I'm gonna go with it for a few of these. I had some people they saw that I was doing this, and so they decided to email some stuff. Eli, that's a really good question. The book on game. In fact, that was one of the things I was going to talk about today. I'm working on it. The outline is done for it. Let me just say that. That's actually the planning stages of a book is really, I think, the most vital side of things when it comes to putting a book together. One of the reasons why book 4, Religion, took so long is because I had to research it, and I researched it meticulously. It was like one of those, it wasn't just like, oh, I'm going to just repurpose a bunch of my old blog posts or anything like that, although I did repurpose a few of them just because they were pertinent to the particular topics I was talking about. But you have to outline a book, at least the way that I do it anyways. It's got to be cohesive to some degree. So I usually, my process is this, and now that this is my 4th book and I'm working on my 5th book, right? I plot it out, and I like to have at least a direction. It doesn't always go in that direction, but it's nice to at least have a roadmap figured out to go ahead. I saw this earlier on. Yeah, is Ayn Rand's philosophy hypergamy on steroids? No, somebody asked me earlier on, and let me see if I can find that. Did somebody say this up here? Kyle, that was a really good question too. Hang on, I'll come back to that. Somebody asked me if I was familiar with Ayn Rand. Yes, of course I am. I'm also familiar with, I forget the guy who is, was it Yaron Brooks from the Ayn Rand Institute? He's another guy that I am really frustrated with. I think he is very on top of his game when it comes to objective, like his obligation to objective truth. But then when it comes to like intersectional dynamics, he kind of falls apart. Very similar to Jordan Peterson, very similar to, what's his name? Let's see. Oh, Steven Pinker. Steven Pinker falls apart. Even one of my favorite authors in the world now, anyways, Dr. Hector Garcia. He's the author of Alpha God, who is a consummate statistician, does his homework. In fact, he inspired me to do better homework for this, for book 4. And at the end of Alpha God, it's like, well, you know, he spells all this great stuff out when it comes to the evolutionary reasons why men are the way they are. And then it's like, well, if we could just erase and remove testosterone from the human race, then we'd all live in this egalitarian, equalist utopia because women have it right. That's the gist of it by the end of it. It's almost like the whole buildup. So you get to that last chapter so he can get his feminist, street cred. Same thing with Dr. Pinker. These are guys who don't want to lose their tenure. Some people they wonder why I have a problem with like Dr. Jeffrey Miller, and I don't have a problem with him personally. I don't care one way or the other, to be honest with you. I think he's a brilliant guy. It's just that his stand on poly and a lot of other stuff, it's not a moralistic thing. It's almost like an academic thing for me because he's one of those guys who has this massive amount of like empirical data and just like forensic evidence, right, about men and women's nature, and then completely ignores the parts about it that don't sort of fit into his own sexual dynamics. So what am I supposed to do? If I have an obligation to objective truth, I'm going to call it out. Sorry, not sorry. Ayn Rand's philosophy on hypergamy on steroids. There's more to it than just that, though. And you also have to remember, I'm not a fanboy of Ayn Rand. I know what objectivism is now. Thank you very much. But I think she got the ball rolling. Let's just say that. I'll give her credit where it's due, right? People always say, well, why do you have such a problem with Carl Jung? Well, I'm saying he didn't have some contributions, right? It's just that today we know that a lot of his theories are by empirical evidence are provably false. And although we like to cling to them because they make us feel good and give us warm fuzzies and they give us what we would hope is a predictive framework, and particularly women love it because it backs up and it reinforces female empowerment and feminism to a greater degree, I think. And I don't think he is the messiah that Jordan Peterson would like him to be. Captain Herring, thanks for that, whatever that was, that $20 sticker, I presume. This is at Fresh and Fit. You told the girls you'll never be bored with me. Yeah. That was funny. That was actually good. Wow. You saw that episode. You actually watched the whole episode because you would have had to get through that whole thing. How could we all develop that ability of coming up with something new in our relationships? That's not like, I didn't say that to say, you're always going to be entertained. Like I'm always going to be, it's like Jester Maxing, right? Oh, Jester Maxing. It's dancing monkey guy, right? No, that's not it. That's not what I meant at all. It's that you will never be bored. And I've told my wife this before. I said, you'll never be bored with me. You will never, your life will, it'll have its ups and downs, but it will never stagnate. And I told her that from a very early on because I have a lot of interests. I have a lot of passions. I have a lot of art that I like to do. I have a lot of things to say. I got a lot of things to do. I have a lot of, make my dent in the universe kind of thing. And by the way, I didn't coin that phrase, and neither did Rich Cooper. That's actually from Steve Jobs. But I didn't say that as a sort of a flex or like, oh, how do we keep it fresh? That's not what I was referring to. What I was referring to is me, baby. That was it. And because remember what the question was. Remember the question. She says, well, what do you guys bring to the table? Why would any girl want to marry you or see you in the long term, right? Because that was the whole. It's the operative point of pretty much all of those episodes now. Man, I got the Black Label from Devil Mountain Coffee, and it is good. 2 pounds. But you got to remember what the operative of that is. And it was, remember the whole point of a lot of that, the new kind of like formula for the manosphere right now is, hold women accountable, hold their feet to the fire kind of thing. Okay. Okay. I get it. It's not like that hasn't been done before. It has. It's been done over and over and over. It's just coming back into this cycle. I can show you, I have a post called Bachelor Nation where a lot of the same, and in fact, I didn't even do the video, but I was commenting on this video called Bachelor Nation. It's a 2-part video. And what it was back then, I think it was 2014 or 2015 is when it came out. And it was black men in the United States who were taking very long trips or expatriating to Brazil because they couldn't find the kind of woman, the kind of chick that they really wanted to get with, because the black women in the United States were not worth it for them. They were all empowered. They were all bitchy. They were all full of themselves. They all have hubristic, right? They were all entitled, just like they are today, just like you see all the time on Fresh and Fit, just like you see all the time on Kevin Samuels, all the time on any other, really any other channel. I think that's the new thing. It's the new hotness right now, is to do what Fresh and Fit have been. I don't say they pioneered it, but certainly Kevin Samuels has been doing, and they've been doing, which is holding women accountable, right? Well, that's what that video was. And if you go to my website, I'll put it in later on, I'll put it in the description of this video if you really want to watch it, but it's called Bachelor Nation. And I actually titled the essay Bachelor Nation too. And it's all kind of like a mini documentary almost. I think it might have been like 45 minutes. It's actually a pretty short watch. But it was interviewing black men who were making the choice to either expatriate or look for women in Brazil and South America, other countries too, but primarily Brazil at that time. And they interviewed the guys who were going down there. They interviewed some of them in Brazil, actually. And then they interviewed like women that were supposedly in the know, that were the black women that were looking for high quality men, right? The same thing you hear right now in 2021. Exact same language, exact same situation, exactly. Go watch it and you'll see exactly what I mean. Everyone, all these guys, and I was checking this out and I was like, yeah, I completely understand why they are where they're at right now. But remember, it goes inside. I have been here so long. You know what?
I was there, I was there 3,000 years ago.
Yes, I was there at the dawning of the manosphere, and I have seen these trends recycle over and over again. So when I was asked, by the way, and now I get back to my point here, when I was asked on that show, the question was this. Actually, that was me, Donovan Sharp, and Aaron Clary were on that show. And the ladies got to ask a question, which was, what do you bring to the table? You know, because that was what we were trying to hold them accountable for. And that's what I said is, you will never be bored with me. And that wasn't like, it wasn't me. It's funny how you're framing this, because this is what I would expect from people who want to say, well, you're thinking in terms of transaction. You're thinking in terms of how do I perform to her satisfaction? That's the exact opposite of what I was saying. What I was saying is, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And if you are involved in my world and you are in my frame, you will never be bored. That was the point. But do you see the subtleties and the differences there in the interpretation of that? So if I say, hey, look, I'm going to be a writer. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be a semi-pro rock star. I'm going to be an art director. I'm going to promote, liquor brands. I don't know that I'm going to do that, but I do know that I'm going to do some pretty interesting shit. And if you want to be a part of that and you want to be in this party, come along. That was what I was talking about. That's the difference between mental point of origin, my mental point of origin. What am I going to do? What are the decisions that I'm going to make? And what am I doing it for? Right? That's crisis of motive. Why do you do what you do? So try to pair those up there. What I meant is, in fact, here's how you solve that problem. Here's the answer to your question. How do you keep it fresh? You stick to your guns. You apply yourself to yourself. That's a good one. You maintain mental point of origin, and you maintain frame when you're self-concerned, when you're self-important, when you become, enlightened self-interest, right? I can't help others until I can help myself. I can't help others as well as when I help myself. So therefore, I have to make myself the first thing I think about when I'm faced with important decisions. That's how you keep it fresh. Polarity, my friend. And that's Royce, by the way. The secret to a good relationship is polarity, not similarity. That's how you keep it. How do I keep it fresh? That's how you keep it fresh. Oh, let's see. What else we got here? Boy, these are going to be good. This is going to be a good one today. Is hybristophilia an operative state like hypergamy, solipsism? Yes, I believe so. This is me talking. I would say so, and I'll explain to you why. Are there more male narcissists than females when all females are solipsistic? Okay. I've talked about this in the solipsism episode. Solipsism and narcissism are two different things. That's number one. You've got it and they're two separate things too. It's not like, oh, you're so solipsistic, you become narcissistic. No, those are two separate things. Solipsism is really a philosophical concept. It's the belief that nothing exists outside the self. I mean, in its purest form, it's a philosophical term that you, like, it's almost like what is it, Descartes, right? You know, I think therefore I am. Well, if we're going to use that as our beginning point, it means that anything outside myself is really just sort of like an actor on my own existence and my own life and my own self, my own consciousness, basically. And way back in the day, once again, like I said, I was there from the beginning. Solipsism was a concept that we debated quite a bit on So Suave, and more or less came to the determination that women are innately solipsistic to by order of degree, of course, but is an innate proclivity of women to presume that everything affects them, like the world exists around them, because it is a survival tactic, is an evolved mental firmware that is focuses on women's survival. And it is part, I believe, of women's firmware because they are the vulnerable sex. They have the highest reproductive investment costs of men or women, right? So the female does, because she's gestation, 9 months, carrying the child to term, providing for that kid, and at least until self-sufficiency. Now I'm talking about in our ancestral past. So the reproductive costs are different for women, and therefore it is, and men, by the way, in our own nature, in men's nature, and especially in our long-term reproductive interests, it's actually in men's reproductive interests that women are solipsistic. Okay, now we can take that solipsism and we can pervert it and we can turn it into something really bad, or we can turn it into something that is an adaptation that has made for the survival of the human species. So it's like hypergamy, okay? Hypergamy is not bad and it's not good. It just is. Solipsism, not bad, not good, just how you use it and how it is emphasized and how it is either distorted or it's built up and used productively. So don't think of solipsism as, oh, they're all these self-centered little egocentric bitches, right? That's not what solipsism is. Solipsism is self-preservation. It's a self-preservation mentality for women and for their offspring too, by the way. And men will back that up because men have an innate, if you've read my 4th book, you'll understand what I'm saying here. I go into great detail about the male protector dynamic. And that means that men have an instinctual sense of protecting the female. And this is not just human males, it's primates, this is mammals and higher order mammals in general. Males tend to be, because they have the higher testosterone content. Nature takes more chances with males of a species, primarily because they have lower reproductive investment costs because they don't have to worry about, carrying a child to term, and we can impregnate women with, potentially like thousands of women with one ejaculation. But that's neither here nor there. What happens is that's the micro level, right? That's the sperm is cheap and eggs are expensive. Now, extrapolate that into the personal level and then into the social level. That's one thing that I think that a lot of like maybe not Evo Bio guys, but like Evo Bio, Evo Psych kind of tend to ignore. They don't go from micro to macro because it seems like just so reasoning, but it's not. I mean, if you look at the at least evolutionary implications of certain dynamics, you will see those dynamics mirrored in our one-on-one relationships, our family relationships, our societal relationships, our political relationships, and our religious relationships. And they all can go back to sperm is cheap and eggs are expensive, right? So the innate protector dynamic goes hand in hand with women's solipsistic tendencies, proclivities, inborn solipsism. So bear that in mind when you consider solipsism versus narcissism. Now, why is narcissism more prevalent in men? I'm not so sure that it is. I don't know if that the jury is in on that or not. And the reason why I say that is because the people doing the research to say, oh, men are more narcissistic, right? Because that's a psychological assessment. And when women are doing the assessing, of course, they're going to find that men are more self-centered. The ones that they want to get with, the ones they're attracted to, the ones they're aroused by. Yes, maybe they are. Men tend to be less agreeable than women. If you look at the big 5 personality traits across the board and gender differences, yeah. Generally, men are more competitive. We've got testosterone. That is a fact of life. Males of any species tend to be more competitive. You deal with it. I'm sorry if you want to think that you can get over that somehow, but you're not. Even guys who are the most passive guys in the world are still playing video. They're playing Call of Duty, and they get very competitive when they're doing that. You're going to get competition in the comments here. Because somebody's going to try to say, you didn't know what you're talking about there, Rollo. Let me tell you, that's men trying to compete with me. You're not as smart as you think you are. Let me tell you how smart I am, right? Competition. So there's a lot of things that you can sort of estimate, personality traits and stuff like that. Narcissism, yeah, if it is, I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying let's be careful of who's doing the assessing of who's more narcissistic and who's not. Because narcissistic personality traits, dark triad personality traits, are overwhelmingly more sexually reproductively successful in men than men who don't possess those. In fact, what is it? Agreeableness. I just talked about this yesterday on Rule 0. Agreeableness is, as part of the big 5 personality traits, agreeableness is an indicator of low reproductive success. Sorry, but that's the research. I'll give you the data if you want. You want me to put it in the description? I would be happy to. It's called The Difference Between Mars and Venus. It's really as a meta study, but that was part of it. Agreeableness is negatively associated with reproductive success in men. Thank you for your 50 pounds. Oh, you must be from Great Britain. How are things going over there with Bonnie Prince Harry? Oh, he's not there anymore. Any thoughts on why young guys like older women? I'm thinking like Mrs. Robinson, Stifler's mom. See, what was that song by Fountains Away? Cece's mom or something like that. Whatever it is, I don't know. That's how much attention I paid to it. So I would say this. Here's my take. I've been asked this before. It's men have much lower. Remember, men don't have attraction floors. Women do. So when it comes to hypergamy, women are only looking for men who are they're always looking for quality, and they have to be because once again, they have higher reproductive investment than men do. So that said, for men have to mate opportunistically. All right, we have to look for you want to know why it's so easy for guys to just hit it and quit it? You want to know why pornography is so popular and guys get addicted to it right now? It's because that's our biological nature. That's our evolved nature, is to ejaculate and evacuate. Hit it, quit it, right? Get in, get out, get done. Because you don't know if her husband, her mated pair, her brother, her father are somewhere around who are going to kill you. So get in, get it done, get out. It's that, and I hate that. That's why it is, right? And so, it's horrible because we only think of it in negative terms because we're so locked into monogamy as this socially enforced monogamy should be the basis of societies. And I'm not saying it shouldn't, but that's why we think of it in those terms. So when we say hit it and quit it, we go, oh, that's horrible, that's ugly, that's Evo Bio. Let's try to find a million ways why that's not true. Yeah, until you read Tim Burkhead's Promiscuity, his book Promiscuity, you'll think that. We are promiscuous by nature. We are monogamous by choice. So when it comes to men seeking out older women, that's just an opportunity. It's a target of opportunity. If a woman is like a cougar, for example, and she's looking for a younger guy, if she's 40 and he's like 22 or 23 or something like that, that's one thing. Okay, now you can talk about it this way. Like you can give me, probably somebody's going to give me this question anyway, so I'll just address it here. Yes, I do understand the prevalence of teachers right now who are essentially statutory rapists of their students. And that is a huge endemic, pandemic, whatever, and you want to call it right now. I've covered it before. I'm actually going to do an episode on this, but I have to have all my homework done. That would be a really involved episode. So I do have a lot of data about that right now. But so I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is guys who are like, say, college age guys who are getting with women who are like, say, divorcees or like, it's hard to say because you can go and say, well, what about guys who want to get with a woman who is a single mom and she's like in her 30s and I'm 28. Don't you think I should marry her? Right? No, I don't, because you're seeing that as the path of least resistance. Men have more fetishes than women. Men have much lower physical standards for what it is they'll hit. They have much lower a much lower threshold for having sort of casual sex. Again, backed up by research. I think there was a study not too long ago. They've repeated this study several times, by the way. But there was a study of it was college age kids. Okay, so let's call a spade here. But it's on college campuses, and they had guys and girls go around and ask random people if they would have sex with them. Right? Just talk to them and warm up to them a little bit and say, hey, will you go back to my apartment and have sex with me? Of course, all the guys, damn near 90%. What was it? 90% of guys said yes, and the other 10% were lying. And then of course, I think it was something like 85 to 90% of the girls wouldn't have sex with a guy just like immediately right then and there. And that's supposed to prove the fact that, you know, women are more choosy, right? They have to be. They have to filter that out. It's women's intuition. It's the hypergamous filter. For men, we are breeders, we are maters, we are copulators, fornicators, whatever. We're bangers of opportunity. And that's why, again, why pornography. That's why unlimited access to unlimited sexuality is men's basic evolved mating strategy. It's not that every guy can facilitate that, obviously not. So we've got to find, you know, end runs around, you know, finding a way to you know, succeed at that, I guess. But one of those fetishes is older women. So if you have hit it with older women, then you're going to go back to that same watering hole. You're going to develop a preference. It's like fat women, right? If you bang a bunch of fatties and they try real hard and that's the only thing you've been able to sort of successfully have sex with, suddenly you have a preference for women with a little extra heft, right? Or suddenly, if you don't believe me, like women will throw rocks at me. Women have a much higher standard for, well, first of all, for sex, but like for idealized male beauty than men will ever have for women. And if you, again, don't believe me, go look at how many niches of porn there are. There are women, fat women, short women, tall women, skinny women, pale women, tan women, black women, white women, Asian women, this woman, that woman, blondes, brunettes, redheads, you know, purple heads, you know, midgets. I mean, there are so many different branches of that and those fetishes. And why is that? Well, because primarily it's due to the fact that those were in some way men were more sexually successful with those girls, or there's the belief that they could be, right? So cougars they're motivated, they're incentivized to get with the younger guy, right? Well, it's not that they want to get the fat younger guy. They want to get with the guy that they thought they could have got back when they were. It's like making up for missing out, right? They wanted to get with the guy that they thought they could have got back then and lock that guy down. And it might feel good and it might be fun. It might be a fling and everything else, but eventually it kind of falls flat because remember, women spend more of their lives searching out long-term security than they have real, true sexual agency, which is, of course, between like say 18 and 28. So there you have it. It's simply because men have no attraction floor. So if you look at, and then, again, remember that's an outlier too. So 9 times out of 10, when a couple comes together, it is usually the woman who's doing the choosing. And then second of all, it is usually that woman is looking for a mate between 3 to 7 years older than her. That's when women are younger and what they're looking for. Now, when a woman gets to be 40 or something like that, and she wants to go bang the guys in college that she couldn't get before. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I'm sure it does. But in the long-term sense, in the, like, we're going to form a pair bond here, it's usually women are looking for older guys, not looking for younger guys. So, and that's a statistical proving empirical data. Coco Puff says, where did you read that women process things as emotion, instinct, and then reason? There's actually tons of data for that. It's not so much, it's not just women, okay? It's men and women. So, gosh, I wish you would have asked me this. I wish I would have known this sooner. I have there's several, I guess I want to say schematics where it's like shows a cross section of the human brain. And if you look at the brain stem right around that, I want to call it, I don't know that it's the hypothalamus, but it might somewhere around like the very brain stem, what we call the lizard brain, the hind brain. That's where instinct resides. That's where things you didn't necessarily have to learn, but you instinctively do anyways. Like you flinch or you have your revulsion instinct. It's also where sexual arousal comes from too. So if you can look at that, at these, there's tons and tons of research on this. And then the mass or the structure that's around the base stem is where emotion starts. And that's why I want to say that's the hypothalamus. Maybe it's I don't think it's the corpus callosum. I forget the name. Sorry, I'm not a neurologist. But then there's sort of the interior, like there's the brainstem, then there's the interior, and then there's the gray matter that's on the outside. And the outside, where the gray matter happens, which is actually the largest part of the brain, is where reason starts. That's where learned reason starts. So there's tons and tons of data on that. I'll look up some and see if I can put it. Coco Puff, if you want to email me, I'll give you the data that I used for parts of book 4, if you'd like. It's fascinating stuff. And remember when I tell you guys there's no elevator pitch for the red pill? This is what I mean, right? Rollo's a neurological no, I'm not. I don't know anything. I'm not a brain science surgeon. I don't know anything about that, but I do know the basics. And I know where it's purported that instinct, emotion, and reason originate. So, what did you say? I'm 42, single, no kids. Okay. How much time do I have to build my business and improve life before building a family? Would semen cryo be a good solution? I don't know enough about semen cryo to begin with, but I do know this. Mick Jagger just fathered a child, and I think he's 74. So I think it's more about your own physical health. At 42, you should easily be able to father children. So there you have it. I wouldn't worry too much. Don't agonize over it. Don't beat yourself up over it. Semen cryo. No, that cryogenics is really for women and eggs. And honestly, I think that's more of kind of like a fantasy scenario for most women as it is anyways, because freezing your eggs does not mean you are going to be able to carry those eggs to term. What was it? They're saying you have to like draw blood and like save your young blood, right? Say like if you're 25 years old and you like donate like a quart of blood. I don't know if you could do that. Well, you donate a quart of blood and, freeze the blood. And so you have it in this bank. So like when you get to be like 60, you need a transfusion and suddenly you have your own blood and it's younger because it was frozen in time. And so now you're like, it's like you're vampires, right? Or there's a black market for young people's blood, right? That's going to rejuvenate you. It's like that Slayer song, Bloodlines. Feed my youth. I don't think it works that way for semen. I'm pretty sure it doesn't work that way. But anyways, the good news is it's never too late. Go start doing it now if that's what you want to do. What do you like? That's been my buzz term for this entire year. And it's going to continue to be for the rest of this year. What do you want to do? Where do you want to be? Where do you want to end up? The bigger question, the more important question is, how much time do I have left? Well, why are you asking me that? Why are you asking me how much time do I have left? I don't know. You could get hit by a bus tomorrow and you're dead. So like anything I say is not gonna make any difference. But let's all joking aside. What do you want to do? Make that decision and drive towards it right now. And once I hit 50, I changed my mind about a lot of different things. Like, do I want to be, a liquor mogul for the rest of my life? Do I want to do promotion for casinos and shit like that for the rest of my life? And, I kind of gradually started doing this more than that. And, 2020, the only thing I did was write the book. But yeah, what do you want to do? And that's the question I asked myself like 4 years ago, right? What do I want to do? Where do I want to be? What kind of, do I want to put a dent in the universe or do I just want to cruise? Do I just want to say, okay, screw it, I'm done. I want to retire. I'm not the kind of, I don't know, maybe it's me, but I'm not the kind of guy that can retire. I think that even when I'm 60 or 70, I'll probably still be doing something creative. I don't know what. When he's sitting on a stool doing it somewhere. Let's see. Cocoa Puff again. What do you want? Why do you say that men are held to higher look standards? Because we are. Is it because it takes much more for a guy to be valued for looks? Oh, you mean like the Instagram photo I put up a couple days ago? Yeah, pretty much. Than it does for women to be valued for looks. Okay, well, let's consult the science. I put up this. In fact, let me see if I can go find it. I put up this meme the other day. Grab it for you. Yeah, I think I have it sitting right here, as a matter of fact. Let's see if I can find it. So it was this, here it is. Yeah, I do have it. All right. So I put up this meme, and I will show it to you just briefly here because people got really upset. They got bent out of shape. You cannot. You know what I found out? Here's one of the things you will find out on the internet. You can never use allegory, and you can never use metaphor, and you can never use sarcasm or any kind of subtle humor, because I guarantee you it will be taken as literally as possible. It will be taken that literal. So let me show you this. So this was the meme that I put on. There we go. So this is it, right? Oh, let me pull that off there so you can see the whole thing. That's it right there. Women. Okay, so the amount of work required to look good. Women, nothing. Just eat. Don't be a freaking hippo and every single day, right? Men, years of hard work at the gym, many times a week, and a strict diet with enough proteins and little fats and sugars. And people went nuts on this. And honestly, I don't know why. That meme has been around for a long time. And there's a kernel of truth to it. I think more people are going, true than anything else. But the reason why I say that, Cocoa Puff, is I have an essay, a very early essay, I might add. I think I wrote it back in 2011 even. It was part of year 1. And it was called Women's Physical Standards. And the reason I wrote it was because there were so many women, and this is like 2011, 2012. And for a very long time, from the time, you can go all the way back to the 70s. You can go back to the 60s and the 70s and still get that. Like I said, we keep using the same language. This is the part of the same language I'm talking about, where women will say, well, you'll hear wives talk about this, or fat women will talk about this, and they'll go, well, men have such impossibly high beauty standards. We could never, the average woman could never, attain these, and it's society. And look at that magazine cover. Their magazine, like Marie Claire, Cosmopolitan, Elle, all this. Look at these magazine covers appealing to women. Look at all these magazine covers. How can you possibly measure up to that? Or pornography. Oh, it's all these girls that are plastic, and they've got big boobs that are, boob jobs, and they've got collagen, and they've got this, and they've got blue hair, they got blue eyes, and they got blonde hair. And, and they're just absolutely perfect. They're Barbie doll, trophy wife, Barbie doll. And it's just this angst, man. It's this existential insecurity and angst. And it is 100% provably untrue. Because as I was saying before, if you go and how can you prove that? Well, I can prove that by you going to, let's say, Pornhub, X Hamster, whatever whatever your porn fetish thing is, and just go look at the different niches. Type in something in the search engine, and you'll see. Or you don't even have to do that. If you're like, okay, I'm NoFap, fine. Go to Pornhub, the blog, not Pornhub, the blog Pornhub, and look at the statistics. Look at what people are into. In the history of humankind, we've never had this data before. We've never been able to say, well, what do people in the state of Montana get off on? What are the most searched terms for pornography in Texas? Well, they can tell you, and they can tell you as far back as like when they started, like back in the I think it was the late 2000s or something. Like that data exists. A great book, A Billion Wicked Thoughts by Ogvis and Ogbai, and it's actually showing it's kind of old data now, but it was kind of let's say aggregating all of these numbers to show what men are into, and men are into a lot more than just blonde hair, blue eyes. She's got to look this and thin and bunny and young and yeah, okay. There is a thing to younger, hotter, tighter. Men are always, by and large, men are looking for fertility and youth. Now, within that context, there's a lot of wiggle room for guys. For women, not so much. If you look at what gets women off, what women find the most arousing, I didn't say attractive, because remember, we're talking about hypergamy here. The AF side of the AFBB formula, which I can't, so the alpha fucks beta buck side of the whole thing. So the alpha side of that, it doesn't change much. It's always that Greco-Roman V-taper, indicators of high testosterone. Physical strength, muscularity. Go look at anything that Dr. Marty Hazelton has done when it comes to why is muscularity sexy. Now, all the looks maxers and everybody's go, suddenly he's admitting that looks count. No, I've been saying that for forever. In fact, as far back as 2011 in that very essay that I'm referencing right now. So yes, I have been talking about the importance of looks for a very long time. The difference between me and those goons is that I say that there's more to it than just looks. They think that that's all there is. That's why I get into that, and that's why I talk about that. So when you look at women's standards across history, so if you go and you look at like the Rubenesque period of like painting and so, or kind of heavier women, like I think it was the High Renaissance or something like that, where heavier set women were supposed to be more attractive. You say, well, that's a social norm, right? Or you look at the centerfolds of Playboy from the 60s versus the centerfolds in the 80s versus the centerfolds in the 2000s or whatever. you can see a difference in there. Like, oh, this must be what men are into. No, that's just what they want you to think that you should be into. What guys are really into is what Pornhub is keeping data for, that shows that men have a much broader, capacity for fetishes. Let's just say that's the best way I can put it, because I know it's not really a fetish, but it's like, well, what are my preferences? That's where they get that, right? You want to see purple haired, pale, skinny spinners. That's your thing, because you think that that's what you're going to be most reproductively successful with. That's your groove, man. More power to you, man. Go after it. I'm not judging you, but that's the truth. And you go and you look at when women started that thing about dad bods. I was just really, that's what we're going to talk about. It's not. That's gaslighting right there, is what that is. The dad bods calendar will never outsell the hot fireman calendar. Okay, never in a million friggin' years, if the dad bod calendar even exists. If anybody would like bankroll the dad bod calendar and go to these photos of these guys with, kind of like, and not super overweight, but pudgy dad bods, right? Oh yeah, it's hot. Sure. Let me sell you the dad bod beach video. That's not going to happen. No, because women have a much higher standard. And they have to, because again, solipsism, first of all, and then second of all, it's in their genetic best interest to look for the highest quality genetic specimen, as well as the best providing, the most arousing with the most attractive. That's why. The end. Oh boy, you guys are getting out of hand, out of pocket today. Thank you, Sam. Sam Bada is in the house, and he is grabbing all of these ones that I am just ruthlessly missing right here. Okay. Oh, I got the Cocoa Puff. Okay, I'll read this. Oh, before I do this, I'm going to catch up here in just a second, but there was a really, really good one earlier on. Somebody was asking me about like books, like what books do you recommend? And I think it was like maybe it was the guy who was asking me about my book, the book 5, which is going to be about game. I don't know exactly what I'm going to call it right now, but it's because I have so many people who are asking me about like, Rollo, where's the best book to learn game? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I know that Troy Francis has some pretty good books on game. He has a lot of books on game. So it might be a little bit too individualized. It sort of depends on what you're comfortable with, but game is really not something you learn from a book. And I'm approaching my book with that in mind. And so I can tell you why game works. I can tell you why amuse mastery, right? Or why the scarcity mentality sort of, informs your game. I can tell you why you have hesitation you have approach anxiety. I can tell you why that works. I can tell you why a woman can't fall in love with you or won't be feel real arousal or attraction to you until she feels jealousy. That's a game dynamic. There's a lot of stuff that's in old school mystery method that I can explain to you. And so from that respect, maybe you find that tool useful. It doesn't mean you have to use every little element of the book, right? But it's going to be a more practical guide. And actually, I'm finding it really easy to write because it's just me explaining stuff and maybe giving you a suggestion. Try this, try that. I'm not saying do these 10 things and you'll be a game expert. If that's what you're expecting, you can move on to the next book because it's not a 12-step, 12 rules for game. No, I'm not going to write that book. But people ask me as sort of an addendum to that is like, what books do you suggest to not necessarily learn game, but in a red pill sense, like what are some good books? So I probably should do a full episode on this, like Rollo's reading list or something. At the top of that list is going to be 48 Laws of Power. That's number one. If you haven't read that, the top of that list is going to be The Rational Male. Read all my books first. There you go. There's my shameless plug. Actually, where's my, there it is. You can go get my 4th book, which is Religion right there. Sam Bada is diligently doing the audible of it right now, just so keep you guys in the loop. However, so beyond those, 48 Laws of Power would definitely be one. I would suggest also reading The Art of Seduction, also by Robert Greene, I think is pretty good. Back before he I think the laws of human nature they're okay, but they're not as profound as 48 Laws of Power. He's getting to the point where Robert Greene's getting to the point where I'm getting kind of frustrated with him in the same sense I get frustrated with like Steven Pinker, right? You want to water it down at the end. Like here's all this harsh data to smash you in the face with. But I'm really a feminist. But we should really be nice to be kind to animals. At the end of the whole thing. So those would be definitely be on the list. Alpha God by Dr. Hector Garcia is absolutely now. It's going to challenge your religious beliefs, no doubt. It will also, at the end of it, be another one of those frustrating reads where you get to the end of it and you'll go, oh, so he hates masculinity. Right. But in the process of getting there, you'll learn a lot of good stuff. So I would add that to the list. I would also add Dr. Warren Farrell's book called Why Men Are the Way They Are. That was as far as I'm concerned, that is the earliest red pill book you could possibly read. That I won't say that I had a book that like sort of unplugged me, but if I started unplugging, it was with that book in 1993 when I read it. And I was young. I was in my 20s when I read that book and it stuck with me. I still have the exact same book up in in fact, Dr. Farrell, if you're watching this, I would really like for you to sign that book for me. And then there is Dr. Marty Hazelton. She's got a book called Hormonal. I would definitely suggest that one. Goes into a lot of the nuts and bolts of what the red pill talks about, even though she would probably not ever want to be associated with the red pill. If you can get past her trying to earn her feminist street cred in it's like the first paragraph or two in every chapter, you get past that, the data is well worth the read. So that's, let's see, I'm looking at my bookcase right here. I can see it just across the room. But definitely those. And I'm giving you like hard, like science books to read. So I'm going to give you The Game by Neil Strauss. That's a fun read. It's entertaining. There's a lot of principles, old school PUA principles in there that I don't think that this generation really remembers all that well. It's a good read. Don't read anything else by him. Well, maybe The Dirt on Motley Crue or Jenna Jameson, How to Fuck Like a Porn Star. Those are two good books by Neil Strauss. Everything else, it's too whiny, wishy-washy, read the tea leaves kind of crap. Let's see, who else would I add to that? I would definitely add Jack Donovan on there, The Way of Men or Becoming a Barbarian. If you want to really understand masculinity, like positive masculinity from a conventional sense, like nuts and bolts, I would definitely read that. It'll if you're one of these guys who's prone to sort of like Deus Vult, save the West, if that's you, that's your book right there, because it breaks it down into like it's like almost, I want to call it masculine philosophy or masculinity explained kind of thing in a very stoic / classical way of thinking about things, but it's written in such a way that it sort of embraces a science too. So good one. What else? Promiscuity by Tim Burkhead, and I only suggest that to people who are kind of like wonks about this whole thing. It's not going to teach you game, but Promiscuity will definitely teach you how mating strategies work. That's kind of a tough read. It's a scientific read. Let's see, Dr. Steven Pinker, The Blank Slate, The Modern Denial of Human Nature is really good. It's starting to get a little dated because I think he published that in the early 2000s, but it's still really good. It's very applicable to our social situations these days. So that one's pretty good. Oh, what else do I have? I'm trying to remember. Let's just go with those. I think that's pretty good. What is that? That's almost like 10 right there. Those are ones that I would definitely suggest. And last but not least, I think my favorite one, the one I like most recently is Robert Greene again, Mastery. If you are looking for purpose, if you are looking for what do I do with my life, Rollo? I'm 42, right? If you're looking for purpose, if you're a young guy particularly, and you're prone to like maps of meaning and let's go 12 rules for life, and if that's you, before you pick up Peterson, pick up Mastery by Robert Greene. And because by my estimate anyways, is the Lost Boys don't need meaning. They need purpose. And they don't need this esoteric, ephemeral, like truisms or aphorisms. They don't need that. They need practical applications, and Mastery will definitely give you that. So go and I suggest you pick up that one as well. So there you go. Okay, now I will catch up. Let's see. Oh boy, you guys are really crazy on me now too. Okay, Jeff. Jeff? No, it's not Jeff. Oh, okay. So I got the Cocoa Puff. Telly Chanella says, what is the role of IQ and intersectional dynamics? That is a show in and of itself. If you have seen Vox Days, he's got like these, they're almost like little mini documentaries on sociosexual hierarchies. He talks about alpha, beta, delta, gamma, and omega sort of sociosexual hierarchies for men. He explains it pretty well. I think in some cases it might be just like, it might be too particular to a culture or whatever, but I think that they're pretty applicable at first. Now, why am I mentioning that? Because when you get to gamma and you get to the gamma archetypes and you get to even the omega archetypes for a minute, you're looking at higher IQs, and you're looking at guys who appeal to reason above everything else. And I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm not, especially in your personal life. I think rational male, right? I think guys need to focus and prioritize and actually unlearn this emotiveness that they've been taught in a gynocentric social order and reprioritize reason and rationality before emotion. That's the problem we have. That's the greatest problem we have in Western society today, is men who prioritize emotion and emote like women and believe that the way that the female experience is the way that we ought to be living life, right? Or the way that we ought to structure society. That is the number one problem facing Western culture right now, is men. Men need to be men and they need to masculinize. They need to take responsibility. That means nothing to me. You know what they need to do? They need to unlearn prioritizing emotion and prioritize reason. Most guys don't have a problem with that because it's our natural proclivity to do so, but an entire world is aligned against them to teach them that they should get in touch with their feelings, get in touch with their emotions, get in touch with their feminine side, get in touch with blah, 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 which is all based on the blank slate, which is horseshit. But that's how we organize society right now. Once we start to unlearn those things and we go back to sort of rationality and reason, that's great. The problem is this, Telly, is that by doing so, and when you prioritize reason, it doesn't feel good in the age of feels before reals. That's why I get run up the flagpole for suggesting that it takes men more hours in the gym than it does women to achieve an ideal of physical beauty that people would find arousing or attractive, right? The standards are higher for women or for men than they really are for women, at least when it comes to idealized male beauty versus female beauty. And when I say that, guys will come at me because it doesn't feel good, because it seems like I'm attacking women. I'm not attacking women. I'm just laying out the data. I'm being reasonable. I'm starting from a position of rationality, and that requires intelligence. And the higher IQ you have, the more you want to rely on rationality and reason, because you think that's because you believe, most anybody who's been raised in the last 4 generations believes that men and women are equal. We've been taught that since we're little boys by Disney and Pixar and everyone else in popular culture, music, media, you name it. It has been conditioning you and raising you since you were you were 5 years old and you were a little sponge soaking up all of this understanding about how men and women are and how humanity works and, what's your personality going to be like and yada, yada, yada. The problem with that is when you appeal to reason, it doesn't feel good and it doesn't get you laid. The higher your IQ, what is it? Aaron Clary's got a great book. You want to know what the answer to the question is? Go read The Curse of the High IQ by Aaron Clary. That will explain everything you need to know about IQ and intersectional dynamics. The higher IQ you have, the more you rely on reason, particularly in intersectional dynamics, the worse off you're going to be, because women begin from emotion. And when you have an inability to, especially if you're like one of these guys who's like almost semi-autistic because you have such a high IQ, or you're so well informed, you think, and what guys with high IQs think is that if I explain it well enough, then she'll want to fuck me. If I explain it well enough, I'll be able to you shouldn't be with Giga Chad. He's not going to be there for you in the long. You can explain everything that I've explained over the course of 20 some odd years in all 4 books in black and white. Here's the details. Here's the numbers. You would be better off with me because statistically you're going to be 35, you're going to be single, you're going to be childless, and you might have some money, you might be able to provide for yourself, you're going to be full of yourself, you're going to have humor. You can try to explain that to women, and you sure as shit can't explain it to them when they're 23 and that they're at the height of their agency. You're not going to explain that. But intelligent guys, that's where they begin from. That's the curse of the high IQ. It's the belief that you can convince, you can spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet a woman into bed. No, you can't. You have to begin from emotion. You have to understand emotion, and you have to understand how it works. That's the real. If you're going to ask me, or you're going to ask Aaron Clary, that's really the curse of the high IQ when it comes to intersexual dynamics. So there you have it. That's your $2 answer. Stephen Bishop says, how can young men in somewhat public-facing careers avoid false accusations? Okay, easy. Avoid them. Understand the game that you're in. That's number one. Secondly, I know 2 guys who have been fired because of allegations from ex-girlfriends. Yes. So let's see. There's 2 ways I can answer this. One is stay indoors. Don't go outside. Don't talk to girls. Don't interact with women online. Become black pill, MGTOW, whatever the hell, doom pill, whatever you want to call incel. I don't care what it is. And you're going to avoid them like the plague. You can do that. That's option number 1. I don't want to do that. Well, how can I avoid them? Right? How can I avoid so you're going to avoid women altogether. That's it's like abstinence is the only 100% guarantee of not getting a girl pregnant. There you go. That's number 1, but you're probably not that guy. Okay. So you're going to have to interact with them. You're going to have to know women's nature. You're going to have to be able to understand the subtleties and the opportunity that you represent to those women. You're going to have to understand why they would want to accuse you to make a false accusation in the first place. I would argue that a lot of the guys who have quote unquote false accusations or something, those women have something to gain by doing so. And if they don't, then it's just vindictiveness, right? And then so that's half of it. The other half is that a lot of guys who I've seen make those are really socially awkward, and they're like dedicated, they're persistent in that. Like she's saying no, and you're like, no, come on, you really like me. You're that guy that you keep at it because you think persistence is key in those situations. It's this persistent application of a lack of understanding of social intelligence in this case, and they keep doing that, and those guys don't even realize that they are doing that, and so therefore they get false accusations, or maybe it's not false accusations. It's just like it's on the border, right? It's on the fence. And if you're the guy that's sort of like, well, it could be, it couldn't be, in a gynocentric social order, it always is. So how do I avoid that? You understand women's nature. That's how you avoid that. You develop social intelligence. You understand the medium is the message. And you become pragmatic. You want to call it stoicism? Fine, be stoic, right? You've got to be a good judge of character, and you have to understand human interactions, and you have to understand the motivations and the incentives for those things. Now, it might seem like a lot of work, and maybe you don't have the patience for it. Great. If you don't, fine. There's always MGTOW. There's always black pill. You can always opt out and go back to your room and don't leave the house. But if you're not going to do that, you're going to have to, in some way, learn the game. That's how. So what else do we have? How do I avoid women? You avoid them. Let's see. Or you can do what Keanu Reeves does, and he can just do the hover hand all the time when you're doing photo ops. Let's see. Irene, thank you, young lady. I hope you're young. How was the gynocentric social order created? Men had the power. Why did they give it up? Easy. It's called 1965, the Sexual Revolution and Hormonal Birth Control. Thank you. I'll take my $5 now. There's your answer. That's pretty much it. If you go back and you look at when we would say gynocentrism sort of came into its own. How do we decide? How do we see that gynocentrism is really sort of the social order that we're in right now? Well, we could point to a lot of different things. We're going to point to the legislation's easiest, right? Well, got more women in power. We got more women in the workplace. We've got more women in school. We got more women earning degrees. We have more women in specific career choices. We have empowered women so intensely, just it's societally, legislatively, economically over the last almost 60 years that we have to go back and rewind the tape all the way back to right around when it started. When do we see these tendencies, or the numbers go up or go down? Like in the case of, like, say, marriage is at an all-time low. When did that start? Right around 1965. What happened then? Oh, the baby boomers and the summer of love in 1968, right? Okay. Well, that was the sexual revolution. Yeah. Well, what prompted that? One invention: hormonal birth control. For the first time in human history, human beings could now say, okay, we can get after it. We can have sex without the worry of getting you pregnant. And here's how we're going to do it. It's not 100%, but it's 98.9%. And that's good enough. Them's good odds, right? And then from that point on, you see the sexual revolution. You see the free love movement that happens right after that. And then, of course, no-fault divorce kicks in right around the early 70s, courtesy of Ronald Reagan, by the way, governor of California. So you see divorces spike. You see militant feminism come into its own. You see more women in the workplace. You see Title IX. You see the Duluth model of feminism. You see abortion become safe and legal, right, with Roe v. Wade right around the mid-70s. And you see all of these, the statistics that we constantly harp on in the manosphere that we've been seeing for years and years and years, all of those can be traced back to one point, and that's the sexual revolution. That's 1965. And what was it that incentivized and triggered the sexual revolution? One invention, and that's hormonal birth control. That's where it began. Well, men had the power. Yeah, they did. And they were eager to give it up for sex, for free sex. They were eager to give up that authority. When women debate, even to this day, about abortion, whether it should be legal or where we should put some sort of restraints on it, or if you wonder why it's illegal in your state for a man to insist on a DNA test of his kids, just to determine, paternity. If you wonder why that's illegal, all you have to do is go back and look at how men just basically ceded authority over that. You don't have authority to find out if the kid's even yours. In fact, if the medical professional finds out that the kid's actually not your kid, he can't legally tell you because of the Duluth model of feminism, because it's the cult of the child. They don't want you. It's got to be in the best interest of the kids. And if it's in the best interest of the children, then it's in the best interest of the mom. That's where that's the cascade effect, right? From the cult of the child all the way. Well, we can't tell him because he might become violent. He might remove his provisioning. Well, the kid's not his. Doesn't matter. Only in a gynocentric social order does men's innate, evolved interests in their own paternity, can we ever say that doesn't matter? You're the man who stepped up, right? You're the guy who married the single mom. You're a hero, Johnny. No, you're not. You've basically given up your evolutionary. You are an active participant in your own extinction. That's the best way I can put it, right? That's why I'm never going to go on Joe Rogan, by the way. That's why I'm never going to get invited to certain podcasts, because I'm willing to say shit like that. And they just simply don't want to hear it, or they're afraid they'll lose audience members for saying that. But that's them's the truths. And so you want to look why did men give up patriarchy? They had everything in their hands. Yeah, well, because they could. That's why. And we can afford to. At least for now we can. We're still an affluent society, but if you look at all the civil unrest and everything that's going on in the United States right now, look at Antifa pulling down statues, running riot in the streets, setting buildings on fire. It's because first off, men have ceded authority, and the only way to get authority is to take it back, which this generation certainly doesn't have any will to do. And then second of all, it's like we live in the age of emotion. So yeah, of course they are. It's not that. Here's a funny thing. Okay, this actually kind of tracks back to the IQ question. Right? Don't these, like when I was watching like last year when they were pulling down statues of like Abraham Lincoln, right? Or Winston Churchill, Nazi, Winston Churchill, right? Oh, racist or supremacist, all this stuff. Winston Churchill. Right. And so that's me being rational. And the first thing that conservatives will say, and the first thing pretty much anybody would have a brain says, don't these kids know he really doesn't what he did? Didn't they take a history lesson? Boy, the schools really must not be teaching the kids. Well, duh. Yeah, of course they haven't been, but they don't care. Even if don't they know the history? Yeah, they do know the history. They know who George Washington is. They know who Abraham Lincoln is. They know who Father Junipero Serra is. They pull down his statue or whatever, or Christopher Columbus or whoever else. They know exactly what Civil War guys, whether it's Union or Rebel, right? It doesn't make any difference. It's the emotional impact That's all it is. It's an emotional, they're expressing them. They're doing exactly what they learned in school. Johnny, you need to express yourself emotionally. Okay, let's pull that statue down. That's it. That's emotion. And they're embracing their emotion. They're expressing themselves emotionally by spray painting all over, the missions in California. They're expressing their emotion as they set arson fire after arson fire after arson fire after arson fire in the California, wildlands and Nevada Sierras. Thank you very fucking much. Oh, it's just lightning. There's no been lightning striking freaking months. No, it's arson, and they know it's arson, and that's that's their emotional outlet. Right? So it's not. Don't they realize they're gonna kill the what? Yes, they do. They know all of this, and they don't care. You're applying reason where it's not. It shouldn't be applied. You understand them emotionally, and that they're emotional children, and they need to be punished like emotional children. Then you start to make progress. Let's see. I'm sorry. That's probably more answer than you really needed from me. Thank you for all these supers. God, I hope I can get to all of these. I'm going to do the lightning round here because I really got to push through these. Thanks for that, Irene. That was really good. Cocoa Puff, again. If you have an open relationship, do you believe women will fall out of love with you? And you'll have more of a roommate relationship than a passionate one. Okay. What is an open in an open relationship? The person who is pushing for the open relationship is the one who basically wants to bang other people. Let's just be honest. Okay. Poly has become, I've done an episode on poly. I really need to return to this because it's starting to become a thing again. Back in 2017, I had a bald-headed guy with a really long beard tell me, Rollo, you're such a reactionary. Poly will never be mainstream. It'll never be mainstream. Only highly evolved intellectuals who can eroticize their jealousy instinct can really hack it. It's only for us elite, smart guys with big brains and big dicks, right? I'm so secure in my masculinity, I'll let my girlfriend go bang other guys on Tinder. No, look where we are now. 3 years later, not even that, right? 3 years later. Yeah, it is a thing. They're passing laws. They're trying to pass legislation. I know that there's somebody sent me a tweet on about I guess in Africa they're trying to say, well, women should be able to choose multiple men to support them. What? Now we are legislating openly legislating against men's innate paternity instinct. You want to know why guys get jealous and they lose their shit and they kill both the lover and the former wife or mother in those situations, and then probably kill themselves? Yeah, it's that innate jealousy sense. Why are men so jealous? Well, because they evolved that way. They had to be, because the jealous guys, they were more successful in reproducing and carrying their, sending their genetics into the next legacy. That's why, because it made sense. It made damn good sense. Mate guarding. How come men mate guard? That's why, because they want to know the damn kid is theirs. That's the only reassurance they have that the child is theirs right up until DNA testing, which we've made illegal, of course, is that you had to take her word. Oh, we're married before man and God, right? And wife, if you have sex outside of marriage, if you cuckold me, then all our family and everyone will know about it. And women are like, whatever, but God will know about it too. And the women are like, whatever. Because hypergamy doesn't care about morality. It doesn't care about freaking family ties or anything like that. Hell, the women in her family probably enable it now anyways. Maybe not in the past, right? The scarlet letter, you're an adulteress. Okay, maybe so. But for every unfair, like what, Handmaiden's Tale or whatever the hell they're calling it right now, for every one of those, how many, like if you go and you look at the, and here's a great thing, man. As soon as there's some new scientific invention, mapping the human genome, now we can tell that with almost 100, pretty much 100% accuracy, that at least as far back as 8,000 years ago, 17 women reproduced for every one man. Tell me again about how hypergamy recognizes God and family. Tell me again. I'm listening. Let's go. No. or Genghis Khan, right? I love that one, right? I don't know that like people are saying, oh, that's not really proven, whatever. But the fact is, it's certainly believable. I would say maybe not one in 200. What was the study? Was 1 in 200 men are direct DNA descendants of Genghis Khan. Now, yours truly, Rollo Tomassi, has never taken the 23andMe test, and I've never had a desire to take the 23andMe test until I heard that. And I'm like, man, I hope I'm like a cousin, or I hope I'm a descendant. Man, I can call him Uncle Genghis. Boy, wouldn't that be awesome? Rollo Tomassi, a direct descendant of Genghis Khan. How awesome would that be? I don't think I am. I'm way too white for that, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, but that's a scientific thing, and you can, again, as we progress into the future, you're going to see more and more scientific discoveries, more and more empirical data is going to contradict all of these comforting old bullshit, pretty lies that we still do, cling to in our old order thinking. What you're seeing right now, I think, is, and like the civil unrest we have, the red pill is the most timely movement, I guess. Like the manosphere. I hate even calling it the manosphere, but it is an inevitable outcome of this conflict. I won't say conflict, but this separation, this schism, I guess, between old order thinking and new order thinking. And the new order thinking comes from all of this data and access to that data. Again, read this book right here and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so that's good enough. Let's see. I got to Irene, Coco Puff. That was you. So Polly's just another, Polly seems like, I'll do I have done an episode called The Problem with Polly. Go look that up. It's in my archives, Coco. That's the best I can do for you right now. I will give you this reassurance though. I will do another show about it though. Let's see. Open relations. There's no such thing as an open relationship. If you are considering, by the way, if you're considering an open relationship, just get out. Why are you not spinning plates? Why are you saying, you know what? I want out. It's funny is if a guy cheats on his wife, they go, you should have done it the right way. You should have divorced her and then gone out and had sex with those women that you wanted. If you were that dissatisfied, you should have just got out. Well, first of all, that's kind of bloody inconvenient, particularly in marriage today. But second of all, it's like, why is that the right way to do it? Why, okay, well, you did it right and you were upfront about it and you told her. Okay, but the result is still the same, right? Oh, well, she's at least now she's okay. Well, if you're okay, so what's the other option? Open relationship. You might as well just say, you know what? Here's your freedom. Here's the divorce papers. Because that doesn't meet the definition of a relationship, quite honestly. You're spinning plates. For sure. And again, if you're doing that and you're single and you're above board about it, please do. I advocate for that in my first book quite a bit. There's 6 different chapters on plate theory. Go look them up. Jeff R. Simple thank you. Thank you. I thank you too. Thank you very much. You get this. Don DeMarco for every thank you chat today. How's that? I'm 23. I read your first book 4 years ago. Wow. Excellent. Wow. You wrote my first book when you were 19. Fucking A, dude. Thank you. You get another one. There you go. I know people hate that now. So I'd be in a completely different position in life if it weren't for you. Thank you. Rinaldi. By the way, Rinaldi, I have got your emails. I know who you are. Divorced a year ago. Now I ended it. Am I caught up? I don't think I am. Is that it? I can put you on. There you go. Haha, I caught it. Divorced a year ago now. I ended it. A decade together. Wow, 10 years. Having the best sex of my life as a single man. However, I still think of my ex sexually from time to time. Super annoying. Why? Ego investment? No. Chemical investment. There's nothing quite like Devil Mountain Coffee in a John Fitch cup. Logoed, licensed, ready to go. So why is that? Why can't I get over her? I have a post called, I have an essay called Detox. And I go into what I know. Oh, hi, George Gammon. I see you in the chat now. I I have a post called Detox, and you have to understand what you're going through when you are separating or you're getting out of a relationship. Guys ask me this, and I'm going to do an episode on the war brides dynamic, and it kind of ties into that. By the way, Wednesday, I'll tell you right now, what are we at, the hour 14? Tuesday, I've got an upcoming, it's an hour, just 1 hour long, pre-recorded episode on alpha widows. So that's something to look forward to. It's going to be a premiere, so you can chat in on it if you'd like for the hour that it starts and then premiere. So there you go. That'll be on Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. So therefore it will be 4 p.m. 4 p.m. Eastern. So something to look forward to. However, this ties into the war brides dynamic, and guys always ask me this question. They'll say, in fact, the thing that prompted, here, I'll give you a history lesson. The thing that prompted the war brides dynamic, or me coming up with the term war brides, by the way, one of my own, alpha widow, one of my own. Would you like me to prove it? I'd be happy to. In fact, I do in that video. But the war brides dynamic is this: in today's terms, guys will say, "Well, Rollo, why is it that my girlfriend can get over me so fast and I'm still hung up? I can't stand the thought of her banging some other guy." Yeah, because there is a chemical connection that she's your drug addict. And women to a lesser degree get this too, but when men, especially men who are in that 80th percentile, and they're not used to having the sexual opportunities that a guy who's constantly nailing other chicks all the time, he's in the 20 percenters. He's the top 20% of guys that women want to bang. The lower 80% of guys, if they catch feelings, if they get one-itis for a woman, if they consider them their soulmate, all that is sort of a psychological schema that lock into the chemical feelings, the dopamine. I won't say dopamine, but because people misidentify dopamine, by the way. Like the endorphins, that's a good one. The endorphins that come from that feeling of infatuation, of getting off with that chick. There's a cocktail of hormones that just floods your body when it comes to sexual arousal, when it comes to post-orgasm feelings as well, like oxytocin. For women especially, oxytocin floods their system right in a post-orgasm state. That's why comfort and rapport and familiarity will never get you laid. Urgency, tension, dread, a lot of very uncomfortable feelings are what prompt sexual urgency and prompt sexual arousal in women. It's not you're just such a good teddy bear, let me hug you. That is anti-seductive. Guys don't realize that there's pre-orgasm hormones and feelings and urgency that goes along in the sexual process, and there's post-orgasm. Like, it's the afterglow, right? It's the post-fuck afterglow. And usually that comes from oxytocin, and it comes from, I don't want to say it's progesterone, but there's a chemical cocktail for both men and women, by the way, that comes before and after release. Something to keep in mind, because that same feeling and that same like constant hit of those endorphins is something that you're looking for when you are in a post-breakup state. So when you break up with the girl, or she breaks up with you, or God forbid she cheats on you, right? There is this emotional investment in the fact that she's going to be the one, right? Or she's going to be your best sexual opportunity. She's the hottest girl I ever got with, Rollo. What am I going to do? How will I ever get another one? I know that's not your particular situation, because you said you're spinning plates and nailing other girls, but you're still thinking about her from time to time. A lot of guys will report this. They'll be out of this relationship, a significant relationship, for years, and they'll have a dream about their ex, even though they're red pill and they're spinning plates, or they got a new girlfriend or whatever else. They still from time to time have a dream about that girl, and the reason for that is because there's still that kind of like, I want to say it's like a neurological connection almost, but the thought, the imagery, the synapse that represents her is still there. And it still seems, and this is me spitballing here, I'm not saying this is set in stone, but it seems to me that memory or that synapse or whatever, that residue that's left, is still associated with that endorphin or that good feeling. When guys break up with a girl, what's the first thing they do? They go get hammered. They go get drunk, or they'll go get high, right? They'll like, I don't want to feel this way anymore. Yeah, because the reason is you were a junkie for the feelings and the endorphins that you're getting from that girl whenever you're having sex with her, or when you're putting that emotional investment into her. And in an evolutionary state in our ancestral past, that was a good thing, right? You had to be, because that fermented like family creation and bonding and man and woman to invest in the child that was going to be produced as a result of that. There's a reason for those endorphins and all of that chemical cocktail that goes along with it. Now, in the 20th century, especially in a gynocentric social order where we've got pornography and we've got all this other stuff going on, it's one of those things that's part of human nature that becomes a liability. So it's like, why are so many people obese and fat and, or whatever? Why is it the American population? I think is 75 maybe % of the American population is overweight and or obese. That is a direct result of a vestige of our preference for sweet, fatty, carb-laden foods that used to be a benefit for us. That's why you don't have to teach a little baby to want a candy bar. It wants it innately because that taste of sugar is part of that. Remember the hypothalamus, remember the brainstem, it's instinctual need because that sugar represents a higher energy, an immediate higher energy content. And in some cases that might save your life. If you have that energy to go and outrun the saber-toothed tiger, more power to you. You go on to spread your genes, right? So that same evolutionary advantage becomes a disadvantage in our culture today because we can just go down to Taco Bell and get a burrito supreme. Yum. And then the same thing applies to our sexual habits, our sexual appetites, and then our reproductive process as well, right? Well, now we can, as I was saying before, we have hormonal birth control. Well, that's great, right? We can have sex recreationally and fun and all that great stuff. Yeah, that's fine, but there's consequences that go with that no one was thinking about. In fact, nobody I would argue that a lot of the consequences, the downside consequences of having a chemical ability to have sex without the worry of pregnancy, I don't think society and the social order of human nature was as well understood as it is in 2021 back in 1965 when they did that. So it's not like they said, well, we've got this great new invention and it means that women will have a unilateral control over the human reproductive process, but but sex, right? But sexual revolution, but summer of love, but like we can knock it out. We can have sex all the time. We enjoy it. We're human beings. We can enjoy it, right? Why not? Well, there's a lot that goes along with that goes back to those good feelings that we had when we were, living in tribes on the sub-Saharan African savanna back in the day, right? When we were hunter-gatherers. But so what happens is, well, now I can have casual sex. Well, great. Okay. So you're having casual sex. Don't get me on the moral thing. This is not a judgment call, but I will say that there is there's a latent purpose to this. And the vestige of the ability to invest in that woman and the endorphins that go with it is a chemical cocktail that in some ways is very similar to heroin. I mean, you get addicted to love, right? Was it Don Henley? Addicted to love. So yeah, you really do. And you need to detox. And that's why I wrote the essay Detox. And there's ways that you can do that. One of the best way to detox from a woman, if you broke up with a woman, I can't stop thinking about her. It's getting around my head. Don't get drunk. Don't get high. Go to the gym. Get in the fucking squat rack. That's what you need to do. Because the endorphins that you will release as a form of like physical stress, it's like a runner's high, right? If you go in there and you feel better after you work out, that's what I'm talking about. Another good thing is this: is if you want to do endorphin release or dopamine release, whatever you want to call it, also listen to music that really moves you, like "Angel of Death" by Slayer. Listen to that. That will definitely help you get out of depression. Now, whatever it is that moves you, whatever, like you feel those things, and you get in. You'll also get a testosterone boost out of like victory. You'll also get a testosterone boost if you compete and you win at something. Or even if your like sports team wins. I mean, it's a slight one anyways. But there's ways to naturally get that endorphin hit again. And most guys don't even think about that because they're like, oh, I can't stop thinking about her. I'm so depressed. Let me commiserate on mine. Don't do that. Get out. It's a physical thing too. You have to detox, really. Okay, so that's that. What else do we have today? Rinaldi. Demo Morbucks. Clever. Why do men tend to bond with through insults? Oh, well, it's easy. Ribbing each other, giving each other shit. Right? While women then to show their contempt with other women via compliments, right? Yeah, well, because women are about covert communication and men are about overt communication. That's the simplest way that I can put it, right? So when we give each other shit, we're actually testing each other. Are you somebody I can fuck with? And if you read Jack Donovan's stuff, you'll understand what I'm talking about here. But we're testing that guy to see if he is somebody that you want on the tribe. You want him on the team. Can I rely on you when the bullets start flying? And if I can fuck with you and I can call you an asshat and you know that, because it's like there's this unconscious, like, I know you're messing with me. Like, I fuck with Aaron Clary all the time. All the time. Everyone who knows Aaron Clary fucks with Aaron Clary. And he knows that. And I know that. And I know that when I call him, a queer or whatever, I'm giving him grief, whatever, like the worst things I could possibly say about like Aaron Clary, he knows I'm not serious about that. I'm not trying to insult Aaron Clary. Trust me, Aaron, you'll know when I'm insulting you. I've never insulted you in my life, although I've insulted you so many times I can't even remember, right? But I do it because I care. because you're cool. You're a cool dude, right? And that's how guys sort of, test each other. They rib each other. They give each other grief. They have to haze each other. That's where hazing comes from. That's where some people can argue and say, well, that's bullying, right? Well, I think right now most guys can't distinguish between bullying and just interacting as a guy would interact, right? Give them shit, play with them, mess with them, talk shit about, shit talking, right? Trash talking, whatever you want to call it. For women, it's different because women communicate covertly. So when a woman resorts to insults, like open ass insults, that means that she has tapped out all of her reserves for communicating covertly. So when a woman tells you, "Oh, can't we just be friends?" That's covert communication. When she's rejecting you, that's a rejection too, by the way. She says, "Oh, let's just be friends. I think of you as a brother," right? When she tells you that, that's covert communication. When she says, "Get away from me, you jerk," and she starts crying and screaming, that's overt communication. And that means that she has reached a point where covert communication is failing and there can be no miscommunication because that's how important the message is. So there's a big difference between those two. That's why when women go, "Oh, isn't she precious?" Because there's that unconscious understanding that they're being the sleight of hand, the nuance is the communication. I know what you mean. She's really a bitch. That's they get it. Women can say, "Oh, she's such a bitch," right? But when she does that, she's resorting to overt communication because she's run out of ideas to be covert. There you go. Oh, la, 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 la. What else do I have here? That was gosh, I had a lot. Boy, we got a lot of work to do today. Me. I'm fucking with this chick and her best friend. She knows. Okay, well, nice of you. Her friend is F King, another guy, unprotected. Now she wants me to strap up when I'm F King her. I never did this before. What should I do? You should be wrapping it anyways. How's that? Does that work for you? Go read Iron Rule of Tomassi. I believe it is number 5. Always control the birth. Go read that. That's my advice to you. What should I do? Go read I believe it's Iron Rule of Tomassi number 5. It's one of my Iron Rules. Always control the birth. And there's only one way you can do that, really. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's 2 ways you can do that. First is abstinence is the only 100% proven method of not getting a girl pregnant. Thanks. The other is you got to wrap the rascal. Okay. You got to strap up. You should be doing that anyways. Like, why wouldn't you be doing that? There was an episode of Tom Likas way back in the day, and the NBA had put out this notice that to its players to say, hey, look, here's a notice. If you are on the road and you're banging these random hoes on the road, which a lot of them were, you got to be careful and flush the condom, because they strapped up, they flushed the condom. Or they had to flush the condom because they had enough women who were scooping the jizz out of the condom and impregnating themselves with it. And the guy says, "What? How could that happen? I had the condom." "Well, it must have broke." Right? "Oh, help me! You have so much money. Help me! I got I'm now your baby mama." Right? There was enough women who were doing that the NBA had to put out a release of some sorts to their players and said, "You flushed the effing condom." Now, of course, Tom Likas says, if you really want to, he thought that was a brilliant idea for anybody, right? Not just NBA players, just anybody. If you really want to mess with them, then you do what Tom says and you put Tabasco sauce in the condom. So when that woman puts that in her cooter, then she gets burned up by, ghost peppers or whatever, which I think is mean. Just flush the condom. I mean, she'd probably still get pregnant even after that, but flush the condom. He said that. He said that not so much to be mean, but as to sort of like find out the girls who were like messing with you and who weren't. But control the birth. And the only way you can control the birth is when you wrap up. End of story. The AQVXZ11. Dude. Is email a good way to correspond with you if one is a patron, like a Patreon, or you want to help me out? Please do. Yeah, it's always a good way to correspond with me. Fun hypothetical. If you took hypergamy, solipsism, and hybristophilia, which one is the most damaging to society if taken to its darkest extreme? Hybristophilia. Anything else down here before I really get in trouble? All right. So that was hybristophilia. Where do we? Sorry, I thank you, Sam. I am like way behind on all of these, but I'm going to catch up here. Man, you know what I need to do is I need Sam to be my producer. I'm starting to need a producer for these. I understand, like when I watch Fresh and Fit, and it's like they've got Chris, if you're watching, please help. I need a producer. Even if you're remote. Rishav Siddhartha says, I thank the Lord because I got to read your books now at 26 years old. Vaya con Dios, man. Finally feels like I have some direction and control over my life. Good. I'm glad you feel that way. I've got a very, I don't want to call him a client. I have a very interesting friend, let's say he's an older gentleman, very mature gentleman. And he told me much the same thing, but he is probably a good 50 maybe almost 50 years older than you. And he's saying the same thing. I've never seen this before. I've never had this articulated before. Oh my God, I can't believe I'd made these decisions over the course of my life. And now it's kind of like pulling back the curtain, right? It's better if it happens earlier at 26 than it does when you're, 66, right? But keep that in mind. It's never like that one guy was saying, I'm 42. Is it too late? No. What's the Chinese proverb? Like, when's the best time to plant a tree? 30 years ago. When's the next best time? Right now, today. Plant the seed, grow it, build. You have the tool. You now have the tools and you now have no excuse. You have the red pill lens. You have no excuse. You can cross the abyss now. There's more waiting for you on the opposite side. There's more opportunity in a red pill paradigm than there ever will be in a blue pill paradigm. And the longer you languish in that abyss, the longer you are just grinding your teeth and are never going to get laid. Just go with it and use it for what it is. A Boogie, Rollo's thoughts on Bitcoin. My thoughts on Bitcoin. Wow. I like Ethereum right now. I'm buying Ethereum steadily. I know people are like kind of back and forth with stupid Elon Musk, who I think was a real big spanking right there. I think that was a big, it's called a Baba Misa. You know what a Baba Misa is? It's in Yiddish. That's a wives' tale. That's it sounds true, but it's BS kind of thing. That was a big, huge Baba Misa. The whole thing with Dogecoin and all that other crap. It was a big like loss leader, I almost want to say. But Bitcoin and hold, man. That's all I can say is just keep at it. Sooner or later it will be. I like Ethereum right now. I think Ethereum is the way to go. At least, and that's from again. I'm not like some expert, right? I follow along with Charlie from Cultivate Crypto. So there you go. There's your plug, Charlie. Did you know? Mad says, "Hi Rollo. Question: Hypergamy pushes mankind forward." Yeah, it did. Bigger, faster, stronger. Am I right? Where'd you go? Damn it! Now I lost you. Hold on a second. There we are. Bigger, faster, stronger from an Evo site. From Evo Psych. What use, if any? Sorry, it keeps jumping on me real quick here. Go back. Did you know, man? There you are. There you go. What use, if any, is a postpartum depression in Evo Psych and why? Okay, postpartum depression is this is again what I've read, anyways. Is a part of women's mental firmware to make sure that she is nurturing and staying with that kid. It's part of the survival mechanisms. It's part of the survival instinct. I don't think that postpartum depression was as pronounced or as understood as it has been since really the rise of sexual, the sexual revolution, right? I think we're more familiar with postpartum depression since 1965 than we were before that, because the society was different. Women had to choose men based on provisioning, primarily, at least prioritize provisioning above anything else, because you had to find a guy with prospects, because they lived in a patriarchal, male primary social order up until we gave it all up with a promise of free sex, right? So when a woman gets depressed from, being away from the baby and all that, I mean, what's the latent purpose of that? I think it's fairly obvious, is that girl, or why do women almost get suicidal when their babies die? Well, because there is, again, you can also probably trace this back to the chemical cocktail, once again, the endorphins, the dopamine, whatever, oxytocin, a lot. I want to say progesterone. Why do I keep coming back to that? But there's estrogen for sure. Remember that emotions and emotional, because postpartum depression is an emotion, right? It's an emotional state. It's a state of depression. So what do we do with depressed women right now? We put them on antidepressants. We want to be happy. We don't want to feel this way. We want to be happy. Well, tequila is the first antidepressant, if you think about it. That's why guys try to self-medicate after they break up with a chick. But we're talking about either a baby dies, or the baby is taken away, or the woman has to go back to work and leave the baby with even mom at home. Right? There's going to be that separation anxiety, I think, between the baby and the mom, and there's a latent purpose for that, which is I need to ensure that my baby is going to stay alive. And even dogs get, I don't say postpartum, but they get separation anxiety. And why is that? Why do dogs get separation anxiety from their owners? Why do women get separation anxiety from their kids? Well, there's a latent purpose to it. It's like if that's the source of your security, I can certainly see how that would translate into a biochemical response. And certainly remember this: emotions are not magic. They are not just spontaneously fall from the sky. I can make you angry by saying the right words right now. I can inspire. Why do we cry at certain movies? Well, what is it that's prompting that? It's not really happening. Oh no, because what's happening is you're seeing this, and it's like stimulus response that is triggering parts of your body that release different hormones. Like you can get roid rage easy enough, right? You can biochemically stimulate emotions. Emotions are an interpretive process. They are not some cosmic ray that drops down on you from the heavens above after the clouds part. So something to keep in mind. But remember that's not to shit all over emotion. I'm not saying, just because we live in the age of emotion, and I'm kind of saying we overemphasize it today, it doesn't mean that emotion is something that is not usable and doesn't have a purpose. It does. It's an interpretive process. I'm just saying that we overemphasize it too much, but it has a purpose. There's a point to emotions, a point to love. There's a very much a practical, functional point to love. Very much a functional point to anger and hatred, and very much there's, what are the base emotions? If you go and you look at the wheel of emotions, there's the base of emotions, and some say there's 5, and some say there's 7. It just depends on whose school of thought you think of. But there's sadness, there's happiness, there's anger, there's joy. I can't remember what all of them are. But and then from those come the more complex emotions, right? But those base emotions start in the hypothalamus, and you can influence those with alcohol if you'd like, or with Tren. Yeah, let's inject horse steroids into our bloodstream. I bet your mood changes really quickly. So. And why do we prescribe antidepressants? Because they work. Because we can do that chemically. Let's see. I'm going to read this just anyways. Rollo Tomassi, been watching George Gammon for a while. Was great to see you collab. Hope to see you both do something similar again. Well, you are going to see me do something similar with George Gammon as early as May of... I'll just tell you right now. So here's your bonus. Since you waited an hour and 38 minutes, this is no secret because it's already on George's website. I'm going to be at his what the hell is it? Capitalist Commando or something. I'm butchering this. He's got a convention for his guys that's coming up in Miami on June 11th through the 13th. And there's going to be a lot of people there. Go look at the speakers list. I don't think I'm revealing anything too much by saying Robert Kiyosaki's going to be there, and a few other notables are going to be there. I am not speaking, but I'm going to be there kind of like talking to people and shaking hands and maybe signing books and answering questions, because I think that I will probably be more beneficial to George Gammon at this event off the stage than I am on the stage. And if you know anything about me at conventions, I do more talking in the lobbies and in the foyers and along the way, people, hitting me up on the way back to my hotel room than I do for the 1 hour I might be on a stage. So I'm going to be there and just hanging out with people and answering questions, and just, you have access to me. I will be there again, the 11th through the 13th. If you haven't signed up, if you want to get a registration, I think it's still open if you want, but it's in Miami. It's going to be in the summertime. It's going to be good. And yes, I am going to go do Fresh and Fit after that. So I will be in Miami for the following week after that. Got some other things I'm still waiting for confirmation of, but I will definitely be with Sterling Cooper while I'm there. Sterling and I have already talked about that. And there's a possibility another guy is going to be there too. I'm not going to tell you who until he tells me to tell you. But there might be somebody else. I might be doing a collab while I'm there. So there you go. But do go check out George Gammon's site. Go check out his YouTube channel. I got nothing but positive feedback from that one show, which is great. That's great. I like it. I like sort of broadening my I want to get out of the manosphere. I want to get into other areas. That's why I did religion, right? Okay. Let's see. Miles Dolding. Wanted to say thanks. Okay, there you go. I'm 30 this year and wondering why I've been so useless in dating my whole life. Currently, reading No More Mr. Nice Guy. Okay, kind of dated. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's kind of dated. And have the Rational Mail lined up right after. This content is so valuable. Thank you very much for that. Let's see, YOLO. Hey, YOLO. Hi, can you explain the difference between operating a classic conditioning and how to be aware of it? Which books of B.F. Skinner do you recommend? I don't really recommend B.F. Skinner. B.F. Skinner is kind of dry, and I'll tell you why. I come from the school of behaviorism, right? And B.F. Skinner is sort of like the Carl Jung, right, of behavioral science. Now, I'm not 100% on with a lot of the findings of B.F. Skinner. I'll tell you why. For the same exact reason I'm not on board with Carl Jung. He made his contributions. Honestly, I think behaviorism and classical conditioning, operant conditioning, all of that good stuff definitely has its place. Okay. And I'm not, Rollo's leaning towards humanisty. No, I'm not. I'm just saying that he made his contribution, and a lot of the stuff he talks about and a lot of stuff he gets into is very true. His assessment of human nature, I think, is flawed from a 2021 perspective of what we know now. So he was as accurate as he could be in the late 70s or mid 70s, right? He did his work, most of his work, I think, from the 50s through the early 70s, if I'm correct. Maybe I'm not. But his books and everything else, he made a lot of contributions, right? So, but what you're asking me here, YOLO, is how do I tell the difference between the game and playing the game, right? Remember I say that, women want to play the game, they don't want to be told they're playing a game. And that's called the observer effect. And I am always interested in the observer effect. Because people ask me, well, Rollo, doesn't your wife read your books? How do you keep her in pocket if she knows all your tricks? She doesn't. That's how you do it. But I am the game, right? I've internalized, and I know that sounds like all cocky and everything, but I am the game in the sense that I have internalized enough of the red pill that it has become second nature to me. So I am playing the game without playing the game, right? It's Zen. So identifying it, there's a point. Say, I understand what you're saying, right? How do you identify it? How do you make sure that you're not doing the wrong thing at the right time and the right thing at the wrong time? Right? You have to be aware of that, but it has to become internalized and it has to become second nature to you. That's how. How do I know classic versus opera? How do I know somebody's trying to trick me and play a game or gaslight me, right? Well, that comes with experience, first of all. It comes with education and experience and knowing and seeing it when it happens. Using the observer effect to your best advantage. Now, you can't live like that all the time, so you have to become the game. It has to be internalized and it has to be part of your second nature. It has to be like what you like. Whenever I talk to you guys about like mental point of origin, I don't go, what would mental point of origin do in this situation? That never even is a concept in my brain. It's just, that's what I do. That's it. It happens. And I can observe it and I can sort of pick it apart and have some insight to sort of dissect why I made the decisions that I did. But, from a logistical standpoint, from an operative state, who cares? The decision's made and I moved on. I think I made the best decision I possibly could because I've internalized game and I've internalized those, what my nature is as a man, what my wife's nature is as a woman, or maybe it's a girl that I'm, or maybe it's one of my poor girls, or maybe it's maybe it's my daughter, right? Maybe it's a relative. You have to become the game. I know that sounds zen, but what it really means is you have to internalize all of these principles so that you can become a different person in a red pill paradigm. Most guys don't have the patience to do that, much less the mental wherewithal. Okay, so that was you. ML, thank you for the 20 pounds. Says, men should learn to take their rightful place and not erase themselves so that women could have an easier access to success without putting in an effort. Work, never give your rightful place, fight for it. Thank you. Thank you for your wise wisdom there and your 20 pounds. Men should learn to take their rightful place and not erase themselves so that women could have an easier access to success. Yeah, too late. Too late. Enough guys are still doing it, and enough guys still think that they should be doing it. And that's not jester maxing. That's not dancing monkeys. That's just a fact of life. What are you going to do about it? Where do you want to be? The only time you get thrust, and where's your rightful place? That's thank you very much for that. Where is your rightful place? Where have you decided that you want to be? Please make that decision because we can't carry on the conversation until you do. Hux222 says, if I want to be married in the future, should I aim to be a combination of alpha and beta? Oh, the good guy paradigm. Got it. Starting from alpha frame with also having 3 Ps, the 3 Ps, provisioning, protection, and parental investment. Is there such a combination? Greetings from Poland. Well, thank you. That is the myth of the good guy. And I'm not saying it's impossible, but I think too many guys think that they can temper dark triad with being sort of beta. Like, shouldn't you have a little bit of blue pill and be beta and be alpha too? And that would make you the best of both worlds. Well, first off, let me tell you this. Logically, reasonably, if we're going to use our logical learned reason as men, we're going to start with reason. Yes, it absolutely does. And it in no way makes any sense to women who cannot appreciate it at any particular stage of maturity. So if you're talking to a girl who's like, say, between like 18 and 26, her priorities do not have anything to do with the good guy. They're looking for the guy who's hot. HAWT, hot. Got to be that guy. And if you got the bag too, that's great. But, the medium is the message. And if you look at the choices that women make, by and large, and statistically make, again, that we have access to now, you'll understand what the priorities are. You want to go back to behaviorism and B.F. Skinner? The only reliable way of determining motivation or incentive, whatever you want to call it, is an organism's behavior. So what is it that's motivating the dog to eat that big bowl of food? Well, he's probably pretty damn hungry, right? Easy to figure out. When we get into more complicated behaviors, when we get into more complicated things, that's when you have to understand that the medium is the message. Okay. So what are you going to do? Let me scroll back here again. Sorry. So you want to be the best of the best. You want to be the good guy, but you also want to be the good cad and the good dad. The problem with that is women don't find that believable. And they don't have a use for a good dad at the same time that they are wanting to bang the cad. So yeah, when a woman gets to be in her epiphany phase, yeah, her priorities change and she's looking for a dad. She's looking for a good father. She's looking for the 3 Ps. But when she's 18 to 28, she's not looking for that dude. Generally, unless she comes from a culture that tells her that shows her to appreciate, or she's forced into appreciating a guy who actually has prospects. The other thing is most guys are never going to be that guy. And they're certainly not going to be that guy in the right place at the right time. Because the standards, and remember, we were just talking about, physical standards. I want to talk about like standards of everything. We keep having this conversation about high value man. That is like saying a quality woman is just basically the high value man. It's an idealization. God, man, people ran me up the flagpole for saying that too. Rollo doesn't believe in a quality woman. No, I believe that is a fucking idealization. It is just as damaging as the soulmate myth. Women are women. You can mold them into what you want. Like you don't just happen upon a good relationship, right? You don't happen upon a good woman. You make the good woman. You make the good relationship. You become the game. You have the integrity. You are respectable, and you have a world into which she wants to enter. She doesn't come in for, God forbid, man, especially today, the hubris and the entitlement. Finding a woman who would even like recognize a good world to enter into is like bloody impossible. But even if you could find that, you would have to drag her into your frame, and she would have to find some sort of appreciation for thinking, holy shit, I got a really great guy here. She would have to have that insight. And that will go against probably everything she's ever been conditioned for or trained to believe from the time she was watching Frozen by Disney, right? You imagine the conditioning that you're having to deal with from age 5 to age 30. So women don't find that believable. They don't find the good guy believable. You might be that good guy. You might even know, I need to be both of these guys. I need to be this. But the woman that you want to get with, or the woman you want to develop something with, she's not, there's no such thing as a turnkey relationship. It's not like she just walks in and goes, here I am. I want to fuck like Jenna Jameson, and I want to be the mother of your children. And I cook pretty good Szechuan too. That doesn't happen. You develop it, you build it, you create it, you mold it. There's no such thing as a turnkey relationship. And she either enters into your frame or she doesn't, or you enter into hers. You choose. All right. So if you want to be the good guy, remember that's kind of like that's good. Like, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's a good thing that you want to do that, but just remember that you won't be believable at different stages of maturity. That's why I wrote preventive medicine. So you can identify that, play the game well enough, and give a woman what she doesn't know that she needs. And then you get what you need, right? Maybe you don't even know what you need at that point. But you have to be able to play the game. Again, most guys don't have the patience to even learn that because they think in logical terms. Like we were saying, the guy was talking about the high IQ there a little while ago. How does IQ play? That definitely plays into this aspect because guys with high IQ think that women should be their equals, just like feminists have said for forever. They should be their equals, and they should step in, and they should be as equally rational, co-equal agents in that relationship. They should step in, turnkey, and know what to do, and be just as logical and smart as they are. And that in no way first of all, they're not looking for that. In fact, most women will complain that, especially when it comes to gamma men who want to show you the spread. Here's why you should be attracted to me. They say and Vox Day said this, they want to punch you in the face because it's very similar to the situation where like I keep talking about like the point of diminishing returns with women. Once the conversation runs out of good feels, that's when they want to punch you in the face because they don't have a counter argument for it. You might win the debate, but you lose everything else. And I know that, I know this was a joke, right? I forget. I think it might have been Brett Weinstein says, I'm going to lose this debate, but not because I'm wrong. I thought that was really profound. Like, I'm going to lose this debate, but it's not because I'm wrong. It's because at the end of this, everybody's going to agree with you because what you're saying makes them feel good. And what I'm saying is right. And it doesn't make you feel good. Sometimes the truth is a burden, especially when you're dealing with women. Let's see, Mr. By the Mile. Elaborate on why a straight woman surrounds herself with gay and lesbian friends. because she doesn't have any, because she's comfortable with them, first of all. Perhaps she wants friends that aren't going to want anything from her. And then does that straight woman have straight friends? Why does she want gay? Well, primarily, I would say, is they want to get with somebody who doesn't have any expectations of them. Gay men have very little expectations of straight women. Lesbian women who are friends with straight women have very little expectations of them too. So it's almost like convenience or comfort. So, Benjamin Zhang says, "How do I avoid woman filing consent rape? Rewind this video and go back to that other question that I just asked, or that was just asked a few." About maybe an hour ago. Let's see. George Gammon, thank you. I'm the man. He says, "You're the man." I am the man. Oh, wait, this is for George. There you go. George Gammon is in the house, or he was in the house. Maybe he's probably still there. Hi, Rollo. Okay, Mark Martin. Did I catch up? No, I didn't. Hi, Rollo. Did you ever see have you ever seen the classic Tom and Jerry episode of the Blues Cat Blues? Which started a generation after generation of blue pill beta simps. I think Tom and Jerry were probably not the catalyst for blue pill simps, but I have not seen that, so no. XM Incorporated says, if women want kids with the strongest genetics, why have kids with a beta? Isn't that opposite of female goal? Yes. Are kids just a box to be checked? Why create life, then cheat it? Then is it a cheat? Is it a long con? No, it's not a long con. Why? Okay, so I get this all the time. Guys say, well, if women only want to reproduce with alphas, then aren't we all alpha? And the answer is yes, we are, by order of degree, because what happens is you are the product of successful reproduction at some point in your genetic history. Right? Congratulations. Bravo. You did a good job. Your grandpa and father, they got after it and they reproduced, and now it's your turn. You better you got a lot riding on you, sonny. Yeah, they did. Was it a lot of times? Now, here's the other thing. You got to remember, this is up until recent times, up until the last 60 years, I would argue, and maybe still in some cultures, the hypergamy and the reproductive process was at the very least a two-way street, if not controlled by men, because we talk about a patriarchal society and women had to depend on men for their long-term security. And the trade-off was sexual access and guaranteed paternity, and I will take care of you and the kids forever. Okay. Am I hot enough to have sex with? Are you into it? Yes. Do you love me? Do we have a connection? Yes. That's important too. But from a transactional side of things, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to provide for you. I'm going to make sure that your long-term security needs as a woman are taken care of for the rest of you till death do we part, forsaking all others in sickness and in health, and richer or for poor. I'm going to take care of you. That's the deal. That's the promise. And in return, all you have to promise me is that you're not going to fuck anybody else and the kids are mine. And I'll do the rest, right? Well, we don't have that arrangement anymore, but that arrangement under the old order would take away some aspect of control over hypergamy. And women cannot brook the thought of losing any kind of control over their sexual selection process, because they know, and they've known this since hormonal birth control, Irene, that is an overwhelmingly powerful form of agency for women. It's not just, I'm going to use sex as a weapon, like in your marriage, right? You know, well, he better do this or I'm going to hold out sex, right? And guys go, well, happy wife, happy life. Think of that on a social scale, because that's where we're at right now in 2021 and have been there for quite some time, actually. Since I would argue like maybe the mid 70s, happy wife, happy life is in politics, in religion, in every aspect of human society. And the reason why we say that and everybody kind of lays down for it as a guy is because they go, well, free access to sex, we can get it. Okay, let's keep this bitch happy, right? That's the Chris Rock routine. Stare in the mirror and go, okay, get out there and make this bitch happy. The only reason that's funny in the 20th century is because happy wife, happy life. And women, and we agree that in every legislation and everything, especially when it comes to abortion, that men don't have a seat at the table. You don't have a uterus, you don't have a say. Well, you're goddamn right I can say, because it's half of my genetics. Nope. we're going to keep going and going and going and going and use this. It's like the sisterhood holds out against the brotherhood and won't have sex with the brother. It's like Lysistrata, right? It's like we're not going to have sex with men until they do what we want them to do. And we can do that on a social scale. We can do it on a political scale. We can do that on a religious scale. Again, micro to macro. Nobody wants to talk about that. No one wants to talk about how our personal sexual decisions influence our politics. All politics are gender politics from here on out. They've been that way really since the mid-70s, since the sexual revolution. All politics are now gender politics. Whatever works. You want to know why we're in a gynocentric social order? How did men give up on the patriarchy? Well, free sex. More or less, free sex. And then by increment to 2021. Oh my God. I gotta do a lightning round. Sorry guys. Let's see if I can push through this. Stephen Bishop says, should I give my honest opinion when discussing controversial topics with women, or do I avoid those discussions altogether? You avoid them altogether, especially if they are women that you have any intent on ever getting with. Always conceal the red pill from women, and especially the women that are like women you want to get with. Always. First of all, women can never be red pill entirely. Okay. Now I've argued in the past, I said all women are red pill. It's just getting them to admit it is the key, right? What will happen is if you have those discussions of controversial topics, never appeal to truth unless you are prepared for the anger that comes from disillusionment. And that's what happens. You want me to prove it? Go watch Fresh and Fit tonight. Go watch Fresh and Fit from yesterday. Well, actually, yesterday wasn't a show. Look at any of those shows where they confront women, and you'll know when they hit the point of diminishing returns. That's when the good feels of the indignation are overwhelmed by the facts that they have no response to, and all you do is you get into this back and forth, and it's like, oh yeah, who hurt you, right? Then they try to drag you back into the emotional thing so they can win the argument. Again, I'm going to lose the argument, but not because I'm wrong. Chris Cruz, I've taken multiple IQ tests. Bravo. And I always land in the 140 plus result. What can a guy like me do to learn game? I'm way too logical. Stop being logical and start being awesome. That's it, right? Stop it. Use that logic to learn social graces, learn social intelligence. Guys who are super, super intelligent tend to sacrifice social intelligence for learning trigonometry, right? I don't know, whatever it is that smart, like super smart guys do. I am in the gifted range. I have been tested from the very early days, like way back in the day. I don't know what it would be right now. I haven't taken an IQ test in like a long time, haven't really bothered. But when I was a kid, back in I think it was the early 80s, I was in the gifted range. At least that's what they told me anyway. So that's where they put me in those classes. And great, I'm not a genius, but I would like to think I'm pretty smart. Do you think I'm smart? But I ain't going to Mensa. I want to. It's boring. I know guys that are like that have joined Mensa, or like even chicks. Like chicks love it when I'm a Mensa member. Well, what do? When you go bowling? You fix cars? You go deep sea fishing? I don't know, because that sounds kind of boring to me. Sit around and talk about smart guy stuff. Great. I want to get laid. Yeah. So just the best thing I can say, you want to learn game at 100. Don't think of it as like a disadvantage, man. I mean, shit, if you can break new ground or blaze new trails, please do. But you got to be able to put it into practice. You know what I would suggest, Chris? Here's my suggestion to you. Go take a few classes at your local community college for improvisational theater. People laugh at me when I say that, but it's true, because that will break you out of your shell so quick, because you have to come up with shit on the fly. You're on stage with somebody else and you can't say no. You have to say, yeah, I really want, and you're just like going on and on and on. Learn improvisational acting. I would say that's the number one way. Like people go, I don't want to learn that cheesy game stuff from a PUA. Okay, then fine. Don't go take an improvisational theater class. You probably meet some chicks there too. And then learn how to basically create bullshit on the fly. And you'll learn social intelligence. You'll pick up on social cues. You're not learn how to be a social. I'm going to learn how to game in my book or online. No, you're not. You learn by doing. We're human beings. We're primates, right? We learn by doing. What's that monkey doing? Oh, okay, I'll try that too. And holy shit, it works. Like you have to learn by doing. Your social intelligence is learned by doing. Sam Whiskey, it finally caught up to you. There you are. Rollo, did Hugh Hefner, Elvis, and Sean Connery help accelerate the sexual revolution? Absolutely. And if you would just, for the love of God, read this book, you would see exactly what I'm talking about, because I mentioned Hugh Hefner and I describe him in very great detail in book 4. Yes, Hugh Hefner is the greatest male feminist in the history of modern history. And he would agree with me. He would say the exact same, I quote, I am a feminist. Yes. Did Elvis Presley push it along? Maybe from the Alpha Seed side. Sean Connery? Yeah, maybe. Did they help accelerate the sexual revolution? No, they didn't. Well, maybe they accelerated it. Okay, but they weren't the catalyst for it. They were the inevitable result of the sexual revolution. Those archetypes, anyways. Hey, Rollo, have you heard of any method to determine paternity without professional lying, hiding the true results? Thank you. 23andMe? I don't know. I think what's cool, there's a legislation, I guess, in Utah where they were saying, like, a man is legally responsible for the prenatal care, at least half of the bills for the prenatal care, if he is responsible for a birth, like a child, right? And that's, like most guys will say, oh, I can't believe that, whatever. A guy should be able to abdicate from it. Now, I agree with this, and I'll tell you why. Because the other stipulation is this, is if the guy contests that the child is not his, the woman, therefore, is legally bound to have that child tested for DNA-wise to see if the kid is actually his. Right now, they can't do that. So if the guy says, hey, look, the girl says, you're the father. Okay, I'll pay for half, but I have to know that the child is mine. This is the first time I have ever heard any legislation that has prioritized a man's paternity, because if the man disputes it, he can say, look, I don't think the kid's mine. Let's get a DNA test. And if that's the case, then I don't have to pay for half of the pregnancy. And this is why it will never see the light of day, because feminists will jump in and lose their shit over this. But it's clever. I don't know who sponsored this, but you're one clever dude, right? Because it gets to that point. And so it's no longer illegal for the guy to find out that whether the kid's his or not, because he's not disputing the claims of the woman. He's disputing the claims that he's held liable for that money. Now we're making it a monetary issue, and now we can get some sort of determination at that. The real point of that legislation is not about paying half of the prenatal care. It's about getting that damn DNA test. And that is brilliant. That gets the Rational Male Award of this show. Whatever it is. We need the Cool Dude Award. Thank you for thinking that up. Let's see. That was Sam Whiskey. And this is Agent 47. Rollo, thank you for your awesome 4 books. You have written. How do you, you get one of those. How do you see the responsibility of today's society, fathers not preparing men for life, like things like your father didn't tell you? I think that is the direct result of removing men not only from the family, but also from society in general. Again, something I talk about in book 4 is there are 3 archetypes for men today. And they are the silly buffoon, the Homer Simpson, the Dr. Huxtable, everybody loves Raymond. It's the silly daddy, stupid daddy needs mommy to save him from himself archetype. Oh no, I tried to. Oh, you'll see that in commercials. You'll see it in movies. You'll see it everywhere. And there's some variation of stupid dad needs mommy to help him save him from himself. Otherwise, he'll fall off the ladder and break his neck, right? That's one. The other one is the borderline abuser. And the abuser is like, oh, you can't trust men with anything because they'll just bang you and leave you. Like it's the women with daddy issues. Like, oh, men are just abusers. They're always going to take advantage of you, and they're manipulators, and they're playing games. A game. That's why I hate the word game. Right? There's the guy who's the borderline abuser that she still loves, and she can't get enough of him because hybristophilia, right? But He is bad for her. He's the guy who is the borderline rapist. It's the when feminists say all men are potential rapists, that's the archetype they're imagining. And then number 3 is the incompetent guy, which is what you've just described here. The guy who doesn't know how to change a flat, the guy who can't like drive a manual, stick shift, right? That's the guy who can't shave without, because daddy was never around. And so those are the 3 archetypes that women have to choose from and men have to like use as their own models for masculinity if there's no positive masculine role in the house. And that's becoming increasingly more and more rare. Now we'll say, well, men need to take responsibility and be the fathers and be this. I'm glad you guys love me. I'm glad some of you guys call me the father, the dad you never had. Okay, thank you very much. That's a big responsibility. But the reason for that is because the guys like who were like the men in your lives who were supposed to be teaching you this stuff or were supposed to be revealing this kind of stuff to you were the products of other beta males who didn't have it explained to them either. We're 2 generations in now, my friends. So you are probably the grandchild of a beta male who fathered another beta male who fathered you. And now you're trying to figure out how do I grow a beard and wear flannel and chop wood? I need to know how to tie a necktie. How do I do a double Windsor? And I am shaving with the straight razor. Thank you very much. Courtesy of Lazarus Razors. Good. Check them out I think they're on Etsy. Lazarus Razors, straight razors. Really cool. Collector's items. Get them. However, so how do you see the responsibility of today's society's fathers not preparing them? Okay, well, that goes back to the responsibility thing. It's impossible for men to assume the responsibility of teaching and preparing other men for life if they don't have the authority to be in that kid's life in the first place. So you have to demand that. You have to push yourself into that. You have to, authority is never given. It's either taken away or you take it back. It's never given. In fact, authority, I would argue, is authority by its very nature has to be taken and has to be assumed. It has to be powered. It's not given to you. You have to take it back. So yeah. We're the products of guys who have, we're the products of other men who were beta as well. But I would say that that's more of a societal problem when it comes to gynocentrism because we don't trust men. We don't trust men to do those things. And then we complain and bitch and moan and kvetch when the kid becomes a criminal. And then what's the first thing we say? Where's the dad? Oh, it must be the dad's fault. No, if you read Dr. Warren Farrell's The Boy Crisis, you'll know damn well that if it's a single mom or a single dad, the single dad is going to raise a better kid. Single moms raise criminals and drug addicts and clinically depressed kids. Sorry, not sorry. Those are the stats. You don't disagree. Don't throw hate at me. Go read that book and throw hate at the stats that are in there. That's how it works. Go look at it. You can't teach men conventional. You can't teach young men conventional masculinity if you are removing men from society. Literally, in some cases, removing the word man from the English language. Of course not. Of course. It must be because these guys won't take responsibility. No, they're removing men from society, from the family, from everything. That's how much they hate you. That's how much the gynocentric social order hates men, period. Stop. That's it. They hate you. They want you removed. You're an impediment. They want testosterone removed. They only have one use for guys with high testosterone, and that's when Jason Momoa walks around, right? That's when the big burly guy comes in, rocks her world, and then go away. Because they have, in a gynocentric social order, females have the power. Simple as that. And they don't know why. Women will say, "Oh, but we love men." Okay, well then why are you literally changing the language? And maybe you're not doing that personally, but your sisters are. Why are you not raising holy hell about that? How did it even get to that point? How do we get to the point where we want to talk about responsibility and we don't even consider that authority might be necessary in affecting that responsibility? I don't know. Because they don't have any insight. They're starting from emotion. And because the data and the rationality and what I present here and what other guys present on their channels as well, you know, it might make for a good podcast, but at the end of the day, at the the ultimate cause, proximate cause and ultimate cause. The ultimate cause is you just remove men from society. So you're going to complain about removing men from society. Either complicit or you're tacitly or implicitly implied or responsible for it. Crispy and Philly, thanks for that $5, my friend. Sam Bada is crushing it. Yes, you are. Always. God damn it. Hold on. There you go. Okay. Mr. By the Mile, when a man cheats on his woman, should he tell her? No. Cheating only implies... Okay, the only time, since this is a real throwaway chat here, cheating is only something you should be concerned about if you have implied exclusivity. If you're spinning plates, you're not cheating on them. Simple as that. Only when you tell that girl, I'll be with you forever, or you imply that, or you say, oh, hey, are we official? Are we a thing? Let me change my status on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. Like if you're implying that you are and you're still banging other chicks, then yeah, you are cheating because that's an implied contract, or at least that's what she believes anyways. You have to be above board. The guy's like, well, but if I do that, I'll lose her. Well, that's because you have that's because you are only worried about one girl. You're a sniper mentality, right? But if I did that, she would go. What if they find out about each other? Let them know that you're the high value guy that is like women will share or want to share, as opposed to like the guy the faithful beta that they're saddled down with. Women will share. This is a Pook quote, by the way. Women will be glad to share a high value alpha than ever want to be saddled with a faithful beta. And I know that sounds sad, but it's true. And again, they would much rather lock down the alpha guy and have him turn into, you know, a good dad later on down the road, but they will happily, and you will see this happen. We're already seeing, you want to know, we asked about poly, right? Open relationships. Yeah. They would love that. Women want that. Women want open relationships in poly because they need to exercise their options. The guy that they're with is not the guy who answers the hypergamous question, which is he the best I can do? When men pursue poly, they don't go say, hey, we're in a poly relationship. No, they're spinning plates. They're not even implying exclusivity. I'm only going to fuck you and you and you and you. Okay? Deal? Deal. Come on. It's not like what is it? Rock of Love. It's not like Bret Michaels and Poison, right? He's got all these bitches on the back. That's not poly. That's spinning plates. And in that case, if that's the case, if that's what you want to do, it's way more efficient and way more logistically sane, I think, to just spin plates. There's no such thing as an open relationship. They're spinning plates or you're implying exclusivity. In that case, you're cheating on her. Guys only cheat for two reasons. People, really, women too, but guys only cheat for two reasons. There's two elements, I should say, to cheating. First of all, you've got to have the implied contract. There has to be some sort of like, I'm committed to you. I thought you were committed to me. How dare you? Why would you think that? Well, she thinks that because your actions make her think that it's implied. But guys cheat for there's two elements of cheating. The first one is opportunity, which most men do not have. They will never have the opportunity to cheat because they're too fat. They're dad bods, right? No chick wants them. And that's probably one of the reasons why they're in sexless marriages and they're thinking about cheating, because really they're not the guy that other men want to be and other women want to fuck. So it's the opportunity is number one. That's the primary reason most guys don't cheat, is they just don't have the opportunity to cheat. No woman. No, who wants to fuck you, right? And then there's the reason. Guys have most men today have plenty of reason to cheat. You want to know why they get addicted to porn? And was it 68, 70% of Christian men report being addicted to pornography, or it's no fap November. Well, why is that even a thing? Well, because they're not getting something in the real world. That's an escape is what it is. It's escapism. It's like playing World of Warcraft, only you're jerking off. I don't know. Maybe you jerk off in World of Warcraft too. I don't know. I haven't played in a while, but it's an escape. And sometimes that living in that escapism is better than living in your reality. And so these guys are like, okay, well, I would cheat if I could. I've got all this reason to do so. Go to dead bedrooms on Reddit. You'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. There's plenty of reason. But these guys just simply don't have, they're 80%ers, right? They're the beta males that sort of, they got one girl and thought that was going to be it. And they're living in dead bedrooms, sexless marriages. What is it, 26% of marriages in the United States are sexless, meaning that they don't even have sex once a month. I think it's like 10 times a year is a sexless marriage. Like if you have sex only once 10 months out of the year and the other two you're like still like yanking it, then yeah, you're in a sexless marriage. That's at least that's the clinical definition of it, I think. And it's 22 to 26% of marriages in the United States qualify as that. So no, again, go get it. Read the marriage chapter in The Rational Male Religion, Book 4 by Rollo Tomassi, available on Amazon right now. But yeah, that's the state. So they have the reason, plenty of reason. They have no opportunity. I've always been like, I've had plenty of opportunity, and especially in the careers that I work in the alcohol industry, in the gaming industry. Yeah, lots. But I don't have any reason. My wife, I'm happy with my wife. My wife, in fact, if anything, my wife like rocks my world before I go off to Fresh and Fit, right? Or before I go and do a liquor promo. It's like, it's an unspoken thing, right? It's like, okay, well, I know he's going off for a few days. Show up in the lingerie. Let's have some good porn star sex before you go. I got no reason. I like my wife. I love my wife. It's fun. It's fun. You want to talk about, like, guys always say, well, how do you create sexual urgency? Well, you get into a position where you are high value enough that you are, even if it's not true, the perception is true of you being like the guy that other men want to be and other women want to fuck. Even if that's not true, the perception is all that matters, because women are all based on perception. What's the image look like? Is he hanging out with Kiki Clout? I better fuck him really hard. Is he hanging out with Sterling Cooper? What could possibly happen with Sterling Cooper? No, I'm not going to cheat. I've never cheated my wife. Never will. I don't have any reason to. No reason. Plenty of opportunity. No reason. Most guys, plenty of reason. No opportunity. That's what constitutes cheating. Ta-da. Let's see. So that was the cheating question. The cheating question. I always get that. Oh, here we go. LB John, love the books on my second read through of TRM. Thank you, John. And then I've got Atem. Thank you, Rollo. I naturally understood our red pill concepts. Of course you did. Everybody does. You just can't articulate it. I think most people understand red pill concepts, and I think in the back of their head they understand the truth of them. They just don't want to admit to them, because if they do, then any girl within earshot goes, oh, you think like that? Right. Red pill concepts, given my Moroccan background. I want to go to Morocco. But I never understood the rationale behind it. Book explains it. Thank you. Thank you for the compliment. A lot of people say that like one of the most common things I get from people is like, I have always known these things, but I was never able to put them in words. You articulate them so well. Okay. Thank you. Coelacanth. Isn't that a prehistoric fish? Ha! Check out the big brain on Rollo. You guys thought I gave up on Mensa. Coelacanth. I'll bet you. I'm pretty sure that's a prehistoric. I hope I'm right. I'm pretty sure that's a prehistoric fish. I'm 35 years old, net worth of $5 million. Of course you are. Still developing frame. I am considering a move from... Then if you have $5 million, why is this only a $20 super chat? Maybe that's why you have $5 million. From the Bay Area to Atlanta. Good move. Moving away from San Francisco is a good, I don't care. You could move to Butte, Montana, and that's a good move for a job, but it's an unfavorable sexual marketplace for me. Why? You're close to Florida too, my friend. You don't have, just because you live in a certain place does not mean you can't branch out. Again, most guys don't have the patience for that. I don't want to go out in the sexual marketplace. I live here. You should go explore. If that's what if that's a priority to you and that's important to you, you definitely should go outside. Anyways, but it's an unfavorable sexual marketplace for me. I want to move to LA or New York for music. I DJ. Any thoughts? Don't go to LA. Don't stay. If you're going to leave San Francisco, you might as well leave California altogether. If those are your two choices, I'm going to say New York, but again, even that's not a really good choice. I would consider Miami, my friend. Go where the fish are. Go where the hot chicks are. Why wouldn't you? Right? Women do that. Women do that all the time. You know, women who are like a hot girl who you would say, oh man, that girl's like a 9. And she's from, I use Butte, Montana, but she's from like Idaho, Boise. She's from Boise, Idaho. And she's like super hot. Do you think she's going to stick around Boise, Idaho to get with the local sexual marketplace represented by the men in Boise, Idaho? Or is she going to maximize her potential or at least feel like she should be maximizing her potential in a better sexual marketplace? I'm going to move to LA where it's glamorous. I'm going to move to Miami. I'm going to move to South Beach. I'm going to move to Los Angeles, wherever you think the hot guys are. Those guys, regionally speaking, women have a greater incentive to look for better men outside of whatever local sexual marketplace they happen to be born into. So I'm telling you guys this. You want to know something here? Let's talk about the game book. This would feature great in the game book. Know that like when you meet women in a club in Miami, likelihood of them being from Miami, pretty small. I mean, I'm not saying that they're not, but like all the girls that are on Fresh and Fit a lot, I would say at least half of them are from somewhere else. And by somewhere else, I mean, they might be from Puerto Rico or Cuba or, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, I don't know, or somewhere, maybe even Canada. But they're there in that sexual marketplace for a reason. They could have stayed in beautiful, Toronto. They could have stayed in where they were, but they didn't. They chose to move. And that is an advantage. When you can accept that reality, you can incorporate that into your game. Really, what was it like growing up in a small town like Boise, Idaho? Really? What are the guys like there? What are the women like there? What's the society like? It's a conversation starter. Let's see. So I'm going to tell you this. If LA or New York is your choice and you gave me $20, I'll give you a little more. I will go to New York, but consider that Atlanta is not that bad a deal, depending on where you go. And you don't have to live in Atlanta proper, right? I mean, there's outlying areas of Atlanta that are nice too. And then remember that Atlanta is probably a little closer to some of the local sexual marketplaces that you want to be. So maybe it's Orlando, maybe it's Miami, maybe it's, I don't know, wherever else. Hell, I mean, even if it's New York or you want to go to, God forbid, DC, you're closer in Atlanta than you will be in New York, unless New York is the place you really think you want to be. And again, don't make your decision based just solely on where the hot chicks are. Like what's best for you, Mental point of origin. Here you go. What works best for you, my friend? Here's the decision you have to make. Who comes first? Who pops into your brain first? Is it a bitch? Is it the potential of having more chicks? Or is it what's best for me? That's what you should be asking. And you wouldn't be asking me this if that were the first thing to occur to you. Got it. All right. DJ Darby says, how long can Fresh and Fit keep doing their show? I got bored of it and stopped watching. Also, can you explain the Paulina Porsakova? If you don't know who Paulina is, she was the former wife of Rick Ocasek, singer of The Cars, one of my favorite bands when I was 12. I love The Cars. I do. I like The Cars right up until Shake It Up. Shake It Up was good though too, but they were better, I think, in the late 70s and the early 80s. Okay, there's my Cars reference. But Paulina was a former Playboy playmate. She is presently 56 years old, and the reason why she's in the news is because she is doing like semi-nude shots in some magazine somewhere at 56 years old, and they're making a big deal out of it because it goes along with the narrative that you can be sexy at any age, in any size, and it's all social constructionism, and it's you don't like her, you want to. I mean, she looks good still for that age, but let's be honest, she's not centerfold quality anymore. 56-year-old Paulina does not compete with 26-year-old Paulina. Okay? So in that respect, yes, sorry, she has hit the wall. Acknowledgement. Women hate this too. I know this is circulating right now on Twitter because women want to say, yeah, there's no such thing as a wall. You can be sexy like Paulina. And she's good looking. I'd hit it, right? But 56-year-old Paulina cannot compete with 26 or even, 36-year-old Paulina. She's a good-looking girl. Don't get me wrong. But the reason she's doing that is because she's advertising. She is the widow of Rick Ocasek, who died in 2019. And I know Rick Ocasek didn't want her to have the money that she eventually got anyways. Because Rick Ocasek was like, this bitch is all about herself. And here it is. Here we have it in black and white and in color photography that she's looking for. She wanted out from that. And if you've ever go Google Rick Ocasek, not the best looking dude in the world. I mean, talented as hell. Certainly a rock star in his time. Good dude. I'm sure he's probably a good dude. I mean, certainly I liked his music. I liked the Cars, right? But who didn't, right? It's a classic 80s stuff. But not the best looking guy in the world. Take him out of the rock star and remove rock star from his job description or his resume. He does not get with Paulina Porozova, or Porzioka, or whatever her last name is that I can't pronounce. It's probably Polish. Again, good looking girl, but hypergamy does not care how old a woman. Hypergamy doesn't even care about menopause because damn well she's in menopause right now. She is advertising because she still wants to rekindle or recapture actually, I think she's making up for missing out, honestly. And now that her husband's gone or, Rick Ocasek's in the ground, she's got to sexually advertise and she's doing it okay, I guess, for what she's doing. But the bigger message of that isn't, oh, look at this woman trying to rekindle her youth. Oh, who would want to get with that? Like there's all these incel guys, they call them incels guys. The guys in the sphere will be like, they don't see past that. They don't see the deeper story. The deeper story is hypergamy doesn't care at any age. And it will make up reasons and contrivances and conventions to sell women the idea that even at 56, you still got it, girl, and you can get a better guy. That's why she's doing it. Like Rick Ocasek, she couldn't get out of that because it's Rick Ocasek, right? You got to get his money, let him die and inherit his money. And then you can live, well, she's probably happy that he died while she was still in her 50s. I know that sounds harsh, but it's true. Why else would he say, I don't want her to have my money and write her out of the will? Go look it up. It's not hard to find the last will and testament of Rick Ocasek. So that was your first part. Can Fresh and Fit keep doing their show? Yeah, I think they can. And Myron and Fresh know I love them to death. Fresh is very good at marketing, by the way. He is a PR marketing genius in my book, okay? And that's saying something because I've been doing marketing, advertising, brand management, brand identity, art direction, graphic design for a very long time. And I can recognize talent when I see it, and Fresh definitely has it. My concern, and I told this to him back in January, is that you've got to stay diverse. You've got to be agile, and you can't just stick to one formula over and over and over again. Now, the formula they're using right now is working not just for them, but everybody's trying to emulate that formula. They're doing it very successfully, but Kevin Samuels was doing exactly that same formula, which is let's get a bunch of women on here, confront them face to face, and watch the sparks fly. There used to be I don't want to say a template, but it's a formula of YouTube shows that used to be called YouTube Blood Sports. And Andy, what's his name? Andy Worski, I think is what that was his name? Andrew Worski. Andrew Worski used to do it very successfully. And the reason I even know about this is because he invited Roosh on his show, got Roosh to do an interview, and then at the last minute sprung these girls who wanted to call him to the carpet, and all he did was just facilitate the meeting and let the sparks fly. And it was like one of his most widely watched shows. That's called a YouTube blood sport. Now, I'm not saying that that's what these guys are doing, or Kevin Samuels for that matter is doing. What I'm saying is that but like people like that. They love that. It's red meat, right? It's thrilling. It's indignation causing. Women love it too, because it's indignation. It's like team woman versus team man. Oh yeah, let's talk about the issues. Well, okay, that's great. But over and over and over again. And you know what? To their credit, I mean, they're almost at 200,000 subs right now, all organic. And the The viewership is crazy. They get really great super chats. You know, you can't argue with the hustle. How long can they do it? I don't know. Maybe indefinitely. Who knows? But at some point, you're going to have to diversify. At some point, you're going to have to break protocol and do some other things. Because if it's only that, then what's going to happen is other people are going to start doing that, and the market is going to get saturated. In fact, it already is. I notice other shows that are trying to emulate the success of Fresh and Fit right now, and Kevin Samuels. And as I said before, excuse me, Kevin Samuels isn't talking about anything that wasn't being discussed back in 2015. Go look up Bachelor Nation on YouTube. I'll put the link in the description so you know what I'm talking about. Everything he gets into over the last year, didn't he sort of like pick up steam like in 2020? Everything he gets into has been around. Again, like I say, I've been in this business long enough to see the cycles. The last time I talked about it was in 2015. Go look up Bachelor Nation. Same exact thing. He's just doing it better. He's just bringing it to the masses in a different way. And again, to his credit, I got nothing against the guy. I think he's doing brilliant work. I hope he keeps doing it. I would love to do a show with Kevin at some point. People keep saying, "Are you going to do a collaboration?" I would love to, but I can't get to him. He's hard to nail down. I mean, he's not looking to do a collab with Rollo Tomassi. He wants to get on Joe Rogan, man. He wants to get on with like Candace Owens. I would not be surprised if I saw Kevin Samuels on Candace Owens on Daily Wire at some point. I would not be surprised if he got on name a big Tim Pool. I would not be surprised if I saw Kevin Samuels on Tim Pool in the near future. He won't even go on Fresh Fit. I mean, he might call in, occasionally, but he's moved on. He's bigger than that. And more power to him. I hope he rides the train until it ends, because that's exactly what Jordan Peterson did. Remember when Jordan Peterson was super hot and crazy, and you could not say one critical thing about Jordan Peterson without having his fanboy army come and say, "You're professionally jealous." No, I'm just being objective about what I see go on here. And now here we are in 2021, not 2018 anymore. And let's look at what has happened since then. I think I've been vindicated. Thank you very much. Let's see. Coelacanth, the prehistoric fish, gives me another $20. Thank you. Here's a bit extra for more Ethereum. I will use that $20 to buy Ethereum in your name, prehistoric fish. You mentioned it. Okay. Yeah, Ethereum is my groove right now. I think Ethereum is going to go to the moon, but slow. See, people ask me that. They say, don't you want to just grab the bag and run? Everybody excuses Rollo. "Oh, Rollo, you just sell books." Yeah, I'm an author. That's what I do now, right? I mean, I sell books. Sorry, you caught me, right? Oh, look, here it is. You got me. You know what? Used car salesmen, they only sell used cars. It's all about the money. No. I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm glad. Please keep buying my books. Please tell your friends, right? But it's not, I can say, well, it's not about the money. No, I mean, I got to do what I got to do, right? But I'm not a guy who knows a whole lot about crypto. I just go by what, like, say, John from Modern Life Dating and Charlie, who he introduced me to at Cultivate Crypto. I watch what they do, and I just kind of sit on. But I've always been and I've said this before. I will say it right here publicly. I am not a get rich quick guy. I'm a get rich slow guy. I'm about sustainability. I'm about looking at the whole enchilada, not just the first part of it, right? I'm a forest for the trees, right? Begin with the ending in mind. And so I kind of apply that to even my investing. And I think Ethereum, in the long term, I think it will pan out. It just seems like the most stable one right now. Bitcoin is hot. Maybe that'll end up being the one. But I think Ethereum will be a significant player. And so I'm more about, and I've always been this way just about pretty much everything, is that I'm steady increase, right? I mean, maintain it, sustainability. I want it. Yeah, I don't want to get rich like anybody else does. I'm not a millionaire. I would like to. That'd be great, right? But I'm not going to grab I'm not Bella Thorne. I'm not going to grab $2 million off of OnlyFans in a half an hour and say, "See ya, suckers." No, you should know better than that. Get rich slow. Get rich. Maintain it. Security. Keep going. Build something significant. Build something that lasts. Build a castle, man. Build a castle, not a tree house. Where am I? AI and ML. Thank you. If the husband doesn't make enough money, that's his fault. Is it? If a man does make enough money or a lot, that's due to wife. How common is this belief? If a man does make enough or a lot, that's due to the wife. Yeah, what that is. Oh, you know what that is? I'll give this one to you. AI and ML, because you have a very fancy av there. Yeah. Okay. I understand what you're saying. You know where that comes from. It's called the power behind the throne. The responsibility, like you're never 100, like as a guy, as a man, you can never be 100% responsible for your own success. What is that? Success has victory has a million fathers, but defeat is a bastard child. That's where that comes from. If you're a failure on your own. You're a bastard kid. But if you're a winner, yeah, your wife is going to be right there to say, hey, I'm the one. And if you're a stupid ass and you're like, and you are into self-deprecation and you think you have no idea what women's nature's like, and you're going to say, well, if it wasn't for my better half here, if it wasn't for the little woman, I wouldn't be the man I am today. Give it up for Mrs. Schmuckface. Yeah. Women. You're a success. But I think what's funny is like, you couldn't say that about Steve Jobs, right? You couldn't say that about certain guys who've made a lot of money. Like if you go and you look at like Elon Musk, yeah, the women in his life have pretty much been a deficit to him. None of those chicks are going to say, hey, I was there to help you out. No, you weren't. Remember when Mackenzie Bezos and Jeff Bezos were splitting up, and everyone, especially in the fem stream media, wanted to make a case for why she deserved $33 billion. She deserves that money. She's the reason for his success. What? What? Can't believe it. No, if she were to cash out her shares in Amazon, if she were to just like offload them all at once, maybe she has by now, it would not be worth $33 billion. I'm sorry. I mean, it might be worth a good chunk of change. Don't get me wrong, but then not even approaching $33 billion. She got that money because it's a divorce settlement. What is it? Of the 60 richest women on planet Earth, 56 of them made their money either through divorce or through inheritance. There are only four of the top 60 women who are the top earners, or the richest women on planet Earth, are self-made like billionaires, right? And we're about to get a new one, Melinda Gates. I did that show like last week, so if you want to check that out, you'll understand what I'm saying. But I think that's kind of funny when we talk about like successes. Yeah, women. The reason why women and like the mainstream media, gynocentric mainstream media, wanted to find some rationale as to why Mackenzie Bezos deserves $33 billion is because that is the number one way that wealth and resources are transferred from men to women. And it is, I mean, imagine 30, that's the pay. Your payday is $33 billion after how long they've been married? 20 years, 25 years. That's your investment. That was the investment, not the stock, not the options in Amazon, which she probably still has. And yes, I've heard that whole thing was sort of a plan. Like I said before, people ask me this too. They said, because I made this observation. I read the thing, right? There's like a thing that's floating around. I think it's on either Twitter or it's on Reddit right now, where some people are floating out the idea that the reason why Jeff Bezos did that and the reason why Bill Gates is doing this is because they see some real financial shitstorm coming in the very near future, and they're following what was called the Enron plan, right? When Enron went under, everybody who was a shareholder, like the major shareholders in that company, all took a bath except for one, the guy who got divorced like 3 months or 6 months before Enron took a shit. And he was the only one who came out like smiling because he couldn't help. I got to pay my ex-wife, right? It wasn't my fault. I didn't actually unload this before Enron took a dive. It was my ex-wife, right? And so what they're saying, and I don't claim to understand the whole thing, but the idea is that the divorce settlements between like really rich, like the ultra rich, is actually a form of asset protection. in case the economy shits, in case their stock, whatever company they're in, their stock prices take a tank, right? So what they do is they take that money, they say, well, I got a divorce settlement, I got to give her this much money. And so therefore, that's why I'm selling my stock, so I can pay her off with the money that I'm making from my stock. See, I didn't know it was actually coming down the road. I went insider trading. What insider trading? You know, like they don't know, like they do know. And that was what was kind of funny to me, is like divorce is now, for the ultra rich anyways, can technically be a form of asset protection. So go look that up. I would like to know more about that. Maybe Aaron Clary can tell me more about that. Coelacanth. I'm going to look that up. Somebody look up coelacanth. I know that is a prehistoric fish. It has like a little bitey mouth. Let's see. Irene, do you think more conventional masculinity, femininity is coming back? No. In a few generations, 100 years, 500 years, who will lead the way? The Morlocks or the Eloi? What will happen in 100 years? How the fuck do I know, man? Femininity. The only thing that I think is going to bring back conventional. Okay. Let's stop with that point, because the point is this. Can we get back? Can we possibly get back? No, we can't go back. We can only go forward. Okay. I say this about tradcons all the time. They say, what do we have to do to get back to traditional masculinity? Nothing, because you're not going back. Build a time machine. That's what you have to do. Tradcons don't want the red pill. They want a time machine. They want to go back to the good old days, the good old romanticized golden years of men were men and women were women. That really never really existed, and at least not in the way that they think that they did. But we can't. We can only make a better future. We can't go back to the past. So when people ask me, like, when's the pendulum going to swing back? It's not going to swing back. There is no fucking pendulum. You go forward. You learn your lesson. You take what you can. You use the best of it, and you build a better future. Oh, let's go back. No going back. Sorry. This train only goes forward. No reverse on this. So that's number one thing you need to remember. Now, what does a better future with more conventional masculinity look like? I don't know. In 100 to 500 years, I would hope that maybe a meteorite has hit the earth by then. Then maybe we'll return. Otherwise, it's going to be civil unrest. The shit's going to hit the fan. You better bug out and live in the woods. Learn to be women better learn to be to live off the land, to be more self-sufficient. Because I'll guarantee you, as soon as societies break down, and eventually, maybe not to the degree that everybody says, it's going to be Mad Max and post-apocalyptic. It's not going to be Waterworld, okay? It's not going to be that. But it's going to get bad. And it'll get so bad that women will start to look at men as a resource of security, rather than what can I squeeze out of this son of a bitch. Some people are even saying like crypto, like, because you can't trace crypto. You can't get to crypto. Like, crypto is more secure than just like any other. It's fiat currency, right? But it's more secure. And then once you sort of remove that, you decentralize that. And you decentralize it in guys who were smart enough to get into it. I'm making a case here, but like the idea is that at some point, the guys who have the potential for security will end up being guys that women want to get with, and are more organically change their behaviors for, because it's in their survival best interests to do so. So if the shit hits the fan and she can't take the hormonal birth control anymore, and she cannot provide for herself subsistence, then yeah, maybe she's going to look for a guy for protection, provisioning, and parental investment. Maybe things will change at that point. I hate to say that society would have to like completely, take a shit for that to happen, but you want options for a $5 super chat? That's the best I got right now. So. Oreo Cyclo. What did you say? God. Okay. I'm getting now down to the wire here, guys. I don't want to do more than 3 hours, but I'll try to get to the rest of these. Rainier Report says, oh, there it is. I got you right there. What kinds of therapists would you recommend who have bought into the recent updates on the DSM-5 that diagnose masculinity as a disorder? Okay. Now, here's what you have to remember. Is that in the last 10 years, and about the last decade, the incidence of women. In fact, here, let me just throw this up there because I put this up not too long ago. I think I did this. Where's my stats? You guys will wait for me. I don't have to have this prepared right away, right? I know. I keep stats like a statistician. I keep stats like a doctor all the time. So here, I'm going to throw this up here so you can see what I'm talking about. When it comes to psychology, I think this is the number one thing most guys need to keep in mind. When it comes, whether it's marriage counseling, whether it's clinical, whether it's counseling, whether it's school, whatever it is, keep this tweet in mind. Okay, this is the APA tweeting this. Okay, this is not me. This is not the manosphere. This is the APA proudly putting this out on December 20th of 2018. I believe that's when I got this. Yeah. So here it is. Female grad students in psychology outnumber males by approximately 3-1 and have done so for more than a decade. All right. So look at these gender percentages in doctoral psychology programs. I mean, look at those stats. Here, let me see if I can blow this up a little bit more for you. Let's put this up all the way. Let's see if I can expand it even a little bit bigger. Can I? I guess not. It's not going to do it for me, and StreamYard fails. Well, anyways, I'll read these up for you. Clinical, 22% male. Counseling, 26% male. School counseling, 15%. Research, this is the research, okay? This is research. Okay, those are clinical. Those are the health and services industries. This is the research subfields. Now, why am I emphasizing that? I'll tell you in just a second here. Cognitive research, 46% male. What? Okay, good, but not as much as women. Developmental, look at that. Only 18% of men in developmental psychology. Experimental, only 38%. Industrial and organizational, 38%. Neuroscience, biopsychology, okay, 39%. Social, 35%. Applied and other, 28%. Okay. Now, why is the research one to be the one to really kind of look at here? Primarily because that's who's going to make the rules. That's who makes the DSM. That's who says, okay, we're all that, because these are the research studies. Here's the meta-analysis. And so whenever I read somebody like Rolf Dengen, I think is who it is on Twitter. I follow him. He's a good guy. Don't get me wrong. But he always posts these things about men and women and this and that. And I go, well, okay, he's very down on the idea of what Marty Hazelton writes about when it comes to ovulatory shift and the research she's done over a course of 25 some odd years. And she's a woman who came up with this. So let's bear that in mind. But when people come down on things like ovulatory shift, or they come down on, the reason they're doing that is because they realize that their bread and butter in a gynocentric social order is keeping their tenure. So what happens when women see this and they go, oh, let's create as many experiments as we possibly can and disprove this because it's in women's best interest that we do. How do we affect that? Well, we have 3 times as many female psychologists as we have men, and most of them in the research side of things. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about when you see the latest research study of psychology this, or from this academy, or from this school, or whatever else, remember that. Keep that in mind. There are 3 times as many women in psychology as there are men, according to the American Psychology, APA, whatever, Association. Very important. What kinds of therapists? Okay, so my best answer to that, Rainier, is just remember that it's mostly women who are in psychology. And marriage counseling is last stop before toll. Joshua. Hi, Rollo. Can you provide a list of resources and evidence that rejects blank slate equalism? Of course I can. I can recommend an entire book. It's called The Blank Slate, The Modern Denial of Human Nature by Dr. Steven Pinker. Read that and you will, or just listen to it. It's great to listen to on Audible as well. That will show you there's mounds and mounds of research, mounds and mounds of data. And that was just back in the mid 2000s or mid to late 2000s, I think, that rejects and debunks blank slate equalism. And since then, I think it was, I want to say it was published in 2005 or 2007. I'm not really sure. Might have been earlier than that even, but that right there is a great resource to get that data from. Go look it up. Dr. Steven Pinker, The Blank Slate, The Denial of Modern Denial of Human Nature. Look that up. perfect book for you. Adam. Hey, Rollo, my father is an alpha and I ended up being beta. What do you think would cause this? Mostly social conditioning in this case. My parents have been married for 44 years. Most likely, just because your dad's an alpha or you think your dad is an alpha, first of all, I would need to know a little bit more about that. But when guys have told me this before, like, well, my dad's he was a drill sergeant, and they became really touchy feely. Well, in a gynecological social order, that's reinforced. Emotionalism, humanism, Jungian psychology, whatever. It is reinforced in a gynocentric social order through media, through mass media, through music, through popular culture, blue pill conditioning, your education. So there's a lot of ways that you could end up as being, if you think you're beta and he's alpha. Okay. Lots of ways. People always say, well, what about social? You always come down on social constructionism. Yeah, I do. But I'm not saying it's not entirely true. Our society's conditioned us for certain things. But what I'm saying is that social constructionism entirely ignores biological, influences and innate influences and evo psych, evo bio, hell, even like evolutionary sociology, like anthropology. There's so many neurological studies. And the reason it does that is because most of what kind of like the scaffolding that holds up a modern gynocentric social order is reliant on two things: the blank slate equalism and a solitary singular belief in social constructionism as the reason for human nature and why we do the things that we do. Remove those two things and all comes crashing down. That's why at the end of a book or whatever, your favorite guy who you think is red pill suddenly says, yeah, this is data, red pill, but I'm a feminist. Yeah, because he has to say that, because if he doesn't, the woke mob runs him out of town, cancels him, and he loses tenure. And now he no longer has the money to go and speak before you and says, look at all this great evidence I have. Rollo Tomassi can tell you that because I don't worry about tenure. I'm listener supported. Thank you. Thank you, listeners. Hey, Rollo, you mentioned in a past video, you discussed positive masculinity dating in regards to Asian men and the Western world. We'll get to the subject in the future. Yes. What's funny is I was considering actually talking about that in book 5 in the game aspect, because one of the two of the subcultures I get the most questions from are Indian guys and guys in and Asian men, like guys in Japan, guys in China, Asia, Philippines. And these guys tend to make in some cases they're very positive and they're very opportunity driven, right? They're opportunists. And in other cases, they're very black pill, because they realize that in their local sexual marketplace, the girls that they want to get with are not interested in Asian guys, because those women are plugged into the global sexual marketplace. I will do an episode on that. And then I promise I will put at least one little bit of a section in book 5 about that, addressing that as well. And what basically some ideas and things, suggestions of things that you can do. Joshua, I got to you. Tony DeLama says, Rollo, you ask what we want. I want to meet a woman who I like, who has a genuine desire for me. Good. From a family with issues. This is not fully under my control. How do I deal with this? Well, then you try to put it as much under your control as possible. The other thing I'm going to ask you is this. You need to understand, you need to ask yourself why that seems like a good idea to you. I want a woman. Okay, what does want a woman mean? Marry her? Does it mean settle down and just have a long-term? Maybe it's a covenant marriage, right? Maybe you're Muslim and you don't want to recognize it by the state, but you're going to be married before the eyes of God and man and everything else. I don't know what that entails. Yeah, we all want a woman who's got genuine desire. Great. Okay, you identified that. You become the guy that women have. Other women want to bang and other men want to be. That's easy. Increase your value, right? But the question is this: what do you want and why do you want it? Like, why do you want to? Like most guys, like when I mean, one of the things that prompted me to this is like I see guys like, and I hate to keep harping on it, but I see guys like Kevin Samuels or even the guys on Fresh and Fit, and they go through this whole thing about like holding women accountable. Great. Well, women have unrealistic goals because only a certain very small percentage of guys actually meet what their minimum criteria is. And most of these women are average at best, right? They, if that, right? Most of them are overweight. Most of them in no way merit the kind of guy that they all get together and giggle and Twitter about, that's what they want. That's what they deserve. And they won't settle for anything less, right? Well, that has two effects. The first one is it creates indignation amongst those girls because they get off on that. And then it also creates indignation amongst guys watching it because they know they'll never be that. Or else they think that they'll never be that. It's discouraging for guys. But to see this reality all the time is, here it is, black and white. This is what's going on. Okay, well, fine. In a best case scenario, what would you like to happen? Well, we hold that women's expectations come down a little bit and they realize that, they aren't all that. They're average at best and they don't actually deserve a guy that is the best of the best, even though that's what they think from day one. So even if you could do that, right? Let's just say for sake of an argument, here you go. Okay, I want to meet a woman who I like and has genuine desire for me, from a great family with issue is it's not fully under your control. Well, it's not fully under your control. But how much of it is under your control? That's what you need to do. Those are the things that you need to focus on. What is under your control? You want to know one of the reasons why most guys in the dating coaches, right? Most guys who are red pill dudes will tell you the first thing to do is get in the gym. You know why they say that? Because if you're in the United States anyways, 75% of you are overweight fat asses. Get in the gym. There's two reasons for that. First of all, you look better. And women will find you more attractive after a certain, you trim down, you put some bulk on, you look better, but you also start getting better results as far as women's interest in you. You will almost, as soon as you get to a point where you have changed your body physically from being, morbidly obese down to where you're in somewhat, good shape, people start treating you differently and you start acting differently. Your psychology changes as a result of that. That is something that is 100% in your direct control, unless you are like physically disabled. That is 100% in your control. So start there. That's easy. But then you got to ask, well, at the end of all this, if I could make women into what I wanted them to be, what do I want? What does that look like? And most guys will go, well, I want to marry a girl who really wants me to have babies and we're going to do this. And I'm like, okay, well, under modern marriage laws today, that is the worst decision you can possibly make. So when I look at it and people are saying, well, men need to take responsibility and they need to be better, higher value men, and women need to, have some humility and they need to realize that they're not all that. And it's like, well, are you trying to put guys and women together eventually? Because if you are, and I would assume that you are, you're trying to help men and you're trying to help women, you're trying to bring women bring women down off of the ledge, right? And you're trying to get men to sort of recognize what they really are. Now you can talk shit about how much money they make and everything else. We talked about this on Rule 0 yesterday, right? What makes a guy a high value guy? Is it his bank account? Well, that bank account and that monetary, the finances and the money that he has means something completely different to a guy living in Atlanta, Georgia, to a guy that's living in living in a third world country, right? That guy might be high value by context, but he's not anything comparable to the guy in a first world country who might be even average. So what are the commonalities between a guy who's high value and then ultimately where does that guy want to be and what does he want to do with his life? The definition of power is not controlling other people. It's controlling the direction of your own life, having choice over the decisions and the direction that you want to go. That's power. What do I want to do? Sometimes that involves controlling other people so that you can do those things, right? That's why guys become tyrannical and everything. But ultimately, the real purpose of power is to affect change and to affect the choices that you want to make in your life. Sometimes you're powerless in that sense. But there are other things you can focus on that you are definitely in control of. Jimmy in Dallas says, was feminism ever actually about equality? No. No, it wasn't. And in fact, there were no waves of feminism. Go watch that episode. Feminism has been the same thing since 1848 in Seneca Falls. It's always been a hate movement, always been a terrorism movement, always been a gender supremacism movement. VD Aquarium. That's a good one. Rollo, did you see the new We the guys from the Berlin Zoo? No, I have not. But now I'm going to look it up because that has piqued my curiosity. Zomboy, do you believe there is such a thing as 100% correct interpretation of the Bible? If so, how do we get to it? That's a question for Sambada. I'm not a Bible literalist. I even explain that in this book right here, and you would know that if you had read it. I'm not a Bible literalist per se. I think that it is most definitely true, but I also think that you can tell the truth in many different ways. Like, I think it's funny how like a lot of people want to believe in the literal truth of the Bible when it comes to Genesis, right? Well, man, Adam and Eve in the garden and the snake and all, they want to, that's literal truth, right? But then when we get to Revelations at the end of the book, like, oh, these are allegories. This is symbolism. Like, what happened to literal truth from book one? It's all truth or is not? So just this part, right? And then the rest of it's open to interpretation, right? What did he really mean? What did Jesus mean when he said this? What did Paul mean? Then we can get subjective and get interpretive for that stuff, but we can't when it comes to Genesis. And that's really the only one I think that most, like, I mean, I guess evangelical Christians really insist upon. I'm not a Bible literalist. I do think that you can have 100% truth in form of metaphors and parables. Jesus himself talked in parables. So we're okay with Jesus talking in parables, but Genesis 100%, literal God spoken truth. All right, maybe tell me your case. I'll be happy to listen. I am open to the debate. So, let's see. Do you believe? Okay. And then Vinny Haddad says, do men subjecting themselves to their own version of hypergamy when prioritizing beauty and age and end up looking for the bigger and better deal? No. Only women are hypergamous. Only women have an attraction floor. Men do not have an attraction floor. Because we men and women here, Vinny, I don't know if you've caught up with us yet. Men and women are different and we have different priorities. We have different mating strategies. We have different end state goals for those strategies. Now we want to have family creation. Of course we want to, men want to be fathers, women want to be mothers. Yes, I got it. How we get to that point is where there's a lot of adversarial action happening. Men tend to be, R selected. And women tend to be K-selected. What that means is men can have lots of babies like rabbits and women have to invest in the child, right? Again, read this book. I explain it in the very early chapters of why that works that way, because human beings prioritize intelligence. I know that's hard to believe sometimes. But when it comes to hypergamy, people have asked me this all the time. I've actually done 2 episodes talking about how hypergamy is not a straitjacket. I've got two essays, and the one that's coming to my mind right now is called Hypergamy, the Misconceptions. And that's one of the prime misconceptions, is that men are hypergamous too. Now, all human beings make comparisons. Okay. We're very good at pattern recognition. And so when we see a little scrawny worm-eaten apple and we see a big, juicy, fresh apple just falling off the tree, which one do we gravitate towards and we think is going to be the best for our survival, right? What's going to taste better? Which one's going to not have the bacteria and pathogens in it? Probably the juicy one. At least by eyesight, that seems to be the logical choice, right? We make comparisons. All human beings make comparisons, okay? So we say, oh, that's a fat chick. I don't want to bang that. And that's a really hot girl, a centerfold girl. I really want to get with her because why? Because she's the juicy red apple. Looks like she has the best survival benefits. She looks like she's going to be the most fun. A lot of guys confuse proximate cause with ultimate cause. So when I say, reproduction is the ultimate end of the sexual marketplace, right? For forming families and everything. Well, I'm not thinking that when I see a hot girl in the club and I want to bang her, she's in a G-string. Yeah, that's the proximate cause. You go, oh man, I want to tap that. Proximate cause. Ultimate cause, maybe eventually you have children with that. That's the purpose, the reason why you get an erection, because she's hot. Proximate. Ultimately, the reason why you're doing it, the latent purpose, is to reproduce with that chick. I didn't want to reproduce. I didn't have anything like that in mind. Of course you didn't. You're in the proximate fit. It's proximate cause, not ultimate cause. Of course not. Women love that too. I don't want to reproduce with these guys. I just want to have a good time. That's why I have a 15 notch count right now, and I'm only 19 years old. Yeah, proximate cause. Of course you do. The ultimate end of that is the reason why you want that is because of your biology and you evolved to want to fuck so that you can have children. It's not rocket science. But when it comes to hypergamy, like, men prioritize health. They prioritize fertility, youth, beauty, symmetry, big boobies usually, nice ass, big child-bearing hips. You have to have good bearing hips, otherwise you cannot have the babies. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of there's the basics, right? But there's a lot of preference that goes into that. Like some guy, the chick's skinny or whatever, and that's his only opportunity. Hit it and quit it and go. Are selected, adversarial against what that woman would love. You want to know why fat chicks try harder? Because they know that they don't have that many opportunities to breed. I would argue this, and I don't have any studies that say this, but I would say that the fatter a chick is, the more likely it is she's going to get accidentally pregnant. I'll let you connect the dots. So yeah, I mean, men prioritize things because here's the thing. I'll use the Tom Likas reference. Like sex for guys is like taking a piss. All right. You're driving along the side of the road or whatever. You want to go take a piss at the casinos, right? You want to go take a piss with golden faucets and a big shiny china bowl and a beautiful bathroom in the Taj Mahal. You would love that, right? What guy doesn't want to do that, right? But when you're driving on the side of the road and you really got to take a piss, the dirty, filthy gas station bathroom sometimes serves the purpose, right? Ultimately. Well, these guys say, I got standards. No, you don't. No, men do not have the same standards that women do because women have a higher reproductive investment cost. So therefore their standards are always going to be higher. That's why women are hypergamous, men are not. And they're not hypogamous either. Wipe that out of your brain. Wipe that stupid bullshit Socrates shit out of your brain. There's no such thing as hypogamy. There's only hypogamy if you're going to stick with hypergamy as its original, like 1950s sociological definition. Then we can talk about it, but not today, not in 2021. Lucid trading. Do you think birth rates will keep declining in the West? Yes. They're already below replacement, so yes. Jimmy in Dallas, Rollo and KS, The Godfather Show. I would do it in a heartbeat. If somebody can reach out, I don't know how to contact him. I mean, I could email him, but I have tried, and I've tried to go through other people, but honestly, and I like Kevin. I like him a lot. Okay. I would be happy to go do a show with him, but would we follow that same format? I'm okay with that if you want to. And I can, drop some, stats and everything else, but I would love to do it. The invitation, Kevin, if you're watching, you can certainly come on here. I'll be happy to go on your show. All day. Hey, Rollo. Okay, I got to you already, and I got a few more, and I'm going to be out of here because we're already past the 3-hour mark. Robert Burton. Hey, Rollo. Robert here in Vegas. Cool. Still down to do the sound for the convention. We're starting to open back up. Yes, I know we are because I'm going down to Vegas to do my 3rd gig pretty soon. And I mean that like a liquor promo. Go to Area 15, by the way. Area 15 is cool. I've done 2 shows. I've done 2 gigs at liquor gigs there, and it is fun. I'm glad. It's like the funnest place I've been that's not a casino, right? And it is. Go look it up. Area 15, not 51, 15. Fun. It was started by some of the guys who were like, I think they were burners, right? They were Burning Man guys, and it is just a phenomenal, like, just look at it. I can't even describe it, but it's hella cool. Go look at that. Hit me up, hit up Ryan or Rich and myself. We are already in the planning stages, by the way, for Rule Zero Live in Vegas. It will be in the fall. So, because we want to make sure that Rich and Ryan can actually attend. So, Canada is still in lockdown. And I don't know when it's going to happen. They keep talking about how they're going to renew it or they're going to absolve it on the 20th of June. We're going to see, but that's why we haven't done anything up to this point. We haven't announced anything because I'm not going to do a Rule Zero Live unless I can have my two main guys there, right? I can't not have Rich there. I can't not have Ryan there. So it is coming. We are planning it though. So you're in as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, we do need a sound guy. Anybody else? Let's see. What else do I have here? Oh, and then I got Mark. And Mark says, thank you for writing your first 3 books. Thank you. Yes, unlearn. That's what you've learned. And read book 4, too. I think you'll get something out of it, too. I hope. How hot is your wife on a scale of 1 to 10? You cannot use 7. Be honest. Would you like me to? Maybe I should show you a picture of her so that all the guys on MGTOW Dictionary can go and say, look, she's Skeletor. Would you like that? That's going to be their clip now. Here's Rollo talking about his wife. Where's my wife? Adjusted for age or like on whole? I would argue that my wife is at least as hot as Paulina Porizakova or whatever the hell her name is. Rico Kasich's ex-wife, widowed wife. How's that? Can I use her as an example? Is that okay? She's thinner. She is in shape. And she is at the gym quite a bit still. Let's see. We both run with our greyhounds quite a bit. So there is that. We prioritize our health. I'm at the gym. She's at the gym. We know that we are in our 50s now. So there you have it. What do you want me to say? Do you want me to say, oh, she's a 10? Oh, husband goggles. Is that what you want me to say? Or what if I say this? Oh, she's a 5. Oh, Rollo wants to leave his wife. He's only got a 5. That's what you want me to say, right? Yeah. She's hot enough. How's that? She's hot enough. You know what's funny to me is like for all the pictures that these guys want to dox my wife with, it's like you're only doing me a favor. I mean, really. It's, oh, she's she's scared. You're not even showing. You know, I know these guys have more pictures. I know that they do, and they won't show them to you because they're afraid that guys will go, well, you know, she's not all bad. On 1 to 10. Okay, I'm going to say this. She's a 10, man. She's a total 10. There you go. Thoughts on peener size, leverage to increase SMV. You know, that is a topic for Sterling Cooper. Oddly enough, you know, I will answer that question. I have written 2 essays. One of them was called Size Matters. And I talk about why like your Johnson size is important. Go look that up. Actually, that's the best thing I can tell you. Go look up Size Matters on therationalmail.com. That's the easiest way to put that out there. All right. That's it. No more. Don't give me any more. No more. I even gave you a book list today for crying out loud. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know no one else. Thank you for sticking it out. All 868 of you right now and 10 of you on Facebook. I hope you like this. I hope you like these things. I want to, I always get locked in to doing committing to a topic, and then I never quite get to all the super chats. And so every now and then I want to give you a chance to ask me the questions that you need to. I'm going to also, what is it? Book 4. I know who hijacked the church. What now? I know. What now? What are you going to do? Make a new church. Get back to the basics, right? Is that, I don't know, what do you believe? What now? What now? Go listen. Here's what's now. I want you to do this. After I hang up the phone here, after I close the show out, go on YouTube and look up Ozzy Osbourne and look at an old song. It's called I Don't Know. That's there, and there's your answer. I don't know. You connect the dots. You tell me, man. I just work here. So I will be appearing. I will be at George Gammon's convention, and I want to say it is it Commando Capitalism? No, it's something else. It's something whatever. He's got a convention that he's doing in Miami. It is June 11th through the 13th. Again, I'm not going to be on stage, but I will be there. I'm probably holding court somewhere. But I'll see if I can set up some sort of impromptu gathering so that if you guys want to ask questions, if you want to do something, I'm going to do book signing too. So that will be Miami, and it'll be at the Hilton. Go over to his channel. He's got all the information over there, and you can pick it up from George Gammon himself. So I'll be out there. That's a real estate / financial kind of thing. And you can get the details. He can explain it better than I can, but I will be there 11th through the 13th. I am a very important person, a VIP guest of George Gammon for this. And again, I will be in after the week after that, following that, I will be over with Fresh and Fit and Myron and Fresh and Sterling Cooper and one other very secret super sauce special guest. And I'm going to let him tell you who it is and when he's going to be there. So there you go. What did you say? Why does it sound like every other channel are just following your book? Because my book was published in 2013. That's why. I'm glad you asked that, Gene, because I explained that in the upcoming recorded show that I have that's coming up on Tuesday when I discuss the alpha widow. Alpha widow is one of my terms. Okay, don't let him accept no substitute. Alpha widow is one of my terms. War bride's one of my terms. A soulmate myth, I guess, would be one of mine. Soulmate's not, but like soulmate myth. I think what else? Like the modern interpretation of hypergamy is something that I feel personally responsible for. Put it that way. And by that, I mean the expanded definition. There's a lot of other things like mental point of origin. When people start talking about that right around June, the beginning of June, and you'll know why. You'll know what I'm talking about here in a little bit. Don't forget that's in book. Actually, I think it's book 2. Mental point of origin is a Rollo Tomassi term. Okay, there's a lot of terminology. Even my haters can't help but use my terminology. They can't help but talk about my ideas. So please do. Please keep talking about them. That was the whole purpose. I don't care if you hate me or not. Just keep talking about those ideas. So yeah, a lot of people pick up stuff out like competition anxiety, the modern interpretation of dread. That's actually not mine entirely. That was Royce and me, because I was talking about passive dread and how ovulation influences dread at that same time that he was talking about dread. And so we kind of like collaborated on that. And that's like way back in the day. We're talking about like 2011, I think 2010. Somewhere around there, certainly for the blog posts. So there's a lot of stuff that a lot of people don't understand where those ideas came from. A lot of people simply regurgitate, parrot back stuff that's from my book, and then sort of use it as fodder for whatever it is that they're doing. I don't care. Please don't plagiarize the book, but I don't think enough people really realize where those terms come from because it's simply been a long time. So there you go. All right, my friends, new show coming up, new hour-long show, pre-record. The premiere will be at 1:00 on Tuesday of this upcoming week, so you get to wait 2 days. That'll be my midweek show. Also look for shorts, Eat My Shorts clips. And I might have another announcement later on in the week. It just kind of depends on what works out. So, all right, guys, thanks a lot, and I will see you.